What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the second part of a story where Izuku was the son of Charlotte Katakuri. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations and support the amazing author Stillwell03 for writing this story. Now, let's get into part 2. Izuku Pav. The week before the work studies came and went relatively fast. For me, I tried to get as much training in as possible, since I wasn't sure what I was in for when I went in. Today, Mr. Izawa saw us off at the train station with us all giving us some final checks to make sure we have everything. Does everyone have what they need? Yes, yeah. Just answer with a yes, Ashido. You all don't have authorization to use your hero costumes out in public, so don't use them unless you are told otherwise and don't lose them. Make sure you also listen to your pro hero. Right now, you're representing UA. I will see you all when you return. He left with me heading out to the train I had to take. Midoriya. Wait up. I glanced over to see Uraraka, Todoroki and Shinso for some odd reason. Looks like we'll be taking the same train to our destination. Uraraka seemed really happy about this for me to shrug and keep walking. So who did you three pick that has you all going in the same direction as me? Whitebeard. They all answer at once for me to smile. So Pops is picking up some people from UA as well. Not bad. We sat in the train cart with everyone around giving me the evil eye immediately. Isn't that the Charlotte kid? Why is he on our train? Amazing the cops haven't thrown him in jail yet. It's only a matter of time before he starts doing the same things that his family does. Geez man. You can't get a break. Shinso looked over to me with it not fazing me as much. When you hear it enough, it becomes numb to you. My stop came with me getting up to head out. See you all next week. I walked out of the train and out of the station. There, I put the address into my phone and began heading where I was supposed to. When I got to the hero agency, I opened the door to see Aunt Lola sitting at the front desk. Izuku. So nice to see you again. She got up and hugged me to have me smile a bit. It's good to see you too, Aunt Lola. I see you've arrived. The pro hero Ryukyu came out from the other room with HAIRED beside her. Welcome to my agency. As you've already guessed, my name is Ryukyu. This is my intern Najire HAIRED, or Najire-chan is her hero name. It's nice to meet you, ma'am. My name is Izuku Midoriya, or Ribunda is my hero name. I bowed to her before thanking her. I appreciate this offer. I hope I can do you pride in my time here. Hey. It's good to see you again, Midoriya. HAIRED came over to pat my head before I stood up again. Now that you're here, I can go over this week's training with both you and Najire. For the entire week, we will train with hockey. What's hockey? Ryukyu looked over to me. Ribunda. Can you tell Najire what hockey is? From my general knowledge of hockey, it's an ability to use your stamina as a type of armor, your concentration as a way to peer into the future, and your own willpower as a form of knocking someone out. Basically the best way you could explain it without much detail. A demonstration may however work better. Why don't you both put on your hero costumes and I'll give you a better example of hockey's capabilities. I did as she said to walk into an empty room where I can change into my costume. When I finished, HAIRED was walking out of another room to marvel at my costume. At least sorta. Wow. You look so dark in that costume. Isn't it hot with all the black on? Are you trying to look creepy with that face on the mask you have? Can you eat through it? Can it do more for defense or is it more just to try and look cool? Patience, Najire. Let Ribunda answer one at a time. I began walking alongside Ryukyu while answering the questions I was asked the best I could. At the Whitebeard agency, at Chako Pav. As me, Shinso and Todoroki got on the giant ship, we were met with a bunch of weird looking people. Some weren't that bad, but other definitely looked kinda crazy. In the center of the ship though, there was Whitebeard hooked up to a bunch of medical stuff. Sorry I can't greet you without all the fancy smancy stuff hooked up to me, but I gotta wear this for some time. Geez, this guy's huge. And I thought he was big in the stadium. Since he's not kneeling down a bit, I can see now that he's straight up massive. I'm with you on that, Uraraka. We all stared in amazement before getting our attention back by Ace and Marco. So long story short, you three will be working with us. Each of you will be trained by one of us and grow in skills hopefully by learning what the Whitebeards do. My name's Marco for anyone that doesn't know, and I'll be training with you, Shinso. Sweet. Shinso smirked before Ace came up to Todoroki. You and me are gonna do some work in Hosu. The Whitebeards were asked to see about taking down the hero killer, with my division being in charge. While we do this, I'm gonna help you train your fire half. Any questions? No sir. It didn't show much, but it seemed like Todoroki was kinda excited for this. That leaves me and you, little lady. Whitey Bay came to me with a smile. You all will also have a bit of training with Pops for an hour in the morning when he wakes up. This isn't mandatory, but he wanted it. The sound of something shaking was heard for everyone to smile. Seems Little Oars is back. Little Oars? We questioned as Ace smiled. Something covered the sun for us to look up and see a giant monster looking down at us. Ah. I panicked and unintentionally screamed with a whatever it was bending down to our size. Sorry if I scared you all. Pops. Are these three the new recruits? Yeah. I'm sure the little lady getting scared by you wasn't what she planned for when she joined. Hahaha. Whitebeard began chugging something in a barrel before introducing us. I'd like you three to say hello to one of my sons. Oars Jr. Or as he's more commonly known in our group, Little Oars. Oars. These three are from Izuku's school. You mean Izuku's classmates? It's nice to meet some of his friends. The giant smiled at us before giving his finger for us to shake. Huh. I guess he isn't as scary as I thought he was. Oars was it? Nice to meet you. I shook his finger with a bit of a calmer feeling than before. Sorry I kinda freaked seeing you. I don't normally see someone bigger than Midoriya. Don't worry. I should have come earlier. Speaking of which, what took you so long getting here? Ace asked for Oars to pull out three things that look like fruits. My crew found what looks like devil fruits, and I figured a welcoming gift would be good for these three. I also kinda wanted to give them to Pops, since none of my crew wanted them. He placed them on the ship for Ace to look at them. Yep. They're devil fruits. Don't know which ones they are, but we can find them out in a few minutes if you three wanna eat them. He passed us the three fruits for me to get something that looked like a pink pear, Todoroki to get something that looked like a red heart, and Shinso get something that had almost a metal look to it with a purple color. So what's a devil fruit? I asked curious for Marco to explain. Devil fruits are fruits of the sea that give the user special powers. They can either change your body's makeup, give you the ability to transform into an animal, or even make you a living element altogether like Ace here. Now that's amazing. However, you won't know about a devil fruit's ability unless someone's already eaten it and it's cataloged. Not only that, but you'll be stuck with the devil fruit until the day you die and won't be able to swim after. Wait, we lose the ability to swim? Shinso asked to clarify. It's called a devil fruit because the person who eats it will be cursed by the sea because they ate a treasure of it. As such, you'll be unable to swim in water and you'll be drained of your energy if you submerge certain amounts of your body in it. As an example, if someone like me, Ace or Katakuri were to fall into the sea, we'd be unable to swim and just sink to the bottom if nobody would help. Izuku would succumb to the same fate, but he won't be significantly weakened in normal water as opposed to salt water. Wait. Why does Midoriya get weakened by salt water? I asked for Ace to take the lead. His power isn't from a devil fruit, but the framework was started by one. With that in mind, he still succumbs to some troubles we do when dealing with water. I glanced down at the fruit to question if I want to do this. So I can either eat this and gain more powers while losing my ability to swim, or I don't and find another way to get stronger. This was a gift also, so what would I need to do to not be rude? My mind went back to the fight with Katakuri and Midoriya. He couldn't land a scratch on him with none of us even being able to do anything. I then thought of my fight with Bakugo to understand I'm nowhere near either one of them and need to work hard to get near the front if I want to help with the situation against Big Mom in the tea party in the future. Chomp. I see Uraraka wanted to try her luck. Whitebeard smiled at me while I tried to keep eating the fruit. It tasted horrible, but I wanted to do what I could to get better. If I can get stronger, I can help Midoriya. Gulp. I finished the fruit and held back the urge to puke with Shinso and Todoroki, deciding to do the same. Now that that's settled, let's start with the work study. With Izuku Pav. As we walked down the street, Ryukyu went over some of the basics of heroism for me before we came face to face with a couple of villains. Somebody stopped them. 3 thugs came out of a bank with a crap ton of cash with us standing in their hands. Get out of the way or die. One of the thugs shouted while growing his body about 10 times its normal size. I can take him on, Ryukyu. Patience, Najire. This is the perfect time for me to show off what Haki can do for both of you. The villain came at Ryukyu with a punch for the dragon hero to hold her hand out and somehow push the villain back. Let's start with armament Haki. As Ribunda has said about it, it creates a barrier around your body using your own stamina. In its base form, it's next to invisible. You bitch. One of the other villains came at Ryukyu with his hand turning to water. The most notable part of armament is the ability to grab the physical body when it is in a form that you can't so easily. She demonstrated by grabbing the villain's hand and throwing him into the larger one. I'm done playing games. The final villain came with blades for arms to slash at Ryukyu. Now it's time for observation Haki. She dodged the attack from behind like it was nothing with multiple others coming after. So long as you hold your concentration, observation Haki allows you to see attacks and things happening around you as if you were watching a play-by-play of something. For example, this man is going to give a right slash. The man gave a right slash as she stated. Then a left downward. Once again, the villain did what she predicted before getting kicked at distance. If done at a higher scale, one can even succeed in seeing the future with extreme focus. I'm sure you're aware of that one, Rebunda. That's it, get the bitch all at once. All three villains came at her at once for Ryukyu to smile. And now we come to the final form. Conqueror's Haki. She glanced back at the three for a pressure to be felt by both me and HAIRED. When it was done, all three villains fell unconscious for the dragon hero to tie them up. With a mere taste of your presence, you can leave weaker-willed opponents unconscious. The problem with this, however, is that this one you must be born with, and you can easily send those that are your allies into a similar state if you don't know how to control it. I'm sure you've already seen that and have been warned to not use it so haphazardly. So Haki is like some super powerful thing. Sort in a gyre. It's able to be countered by someone that doesn't know it, but that's more if the Haki wielder put too much confidence in their own skills. One can also be defeated by a more superior Haki user. So it's an ability that can make you more powerful, but also something that you shouldn't put too much reliance on. Precisely. Some police came over to arrest the villains, with Ryukyu giving some information on when she came onto the scene. We called the endeavor short and headed back towards the agency for her to continue our conversation there with Aunt Lola around. Now that we're all together, I think it's time to tell you what my next objective for you is. Objective? I questioned this while Ryukyu explained to me what's happening. We will go after the hero killer this week in Hosu. You will have authorization to use your quirk and we'll take him down. Wait. What? Tell me, Midoriya. Did anyone think you were worthy of the mantle at the sports festival? I thought about it before answering bluntly. I think they'd prefer me coming in dead last. That is precisely why we are doing this. If people see you stop villains that harm society and act as a guardian under legal authorization, they will slowly learn to accept you. And when they learn to accept you, you will have people willing to back you and your ultimate goal. I saw the logic in it to smirk. So when are we heading out? Tomorrow. We'll use the rest of the time to train you on using Haki. If you learn this, you'll be able to stand to even Katakuri. Now that I like hearing. Good. Tia. Aunt Lola hit me over the head with a stick for it to actually land a blow on me. Ow. Sorry. Ryukyu told me to start swinging at you for practice with observation when training starts before you came here today. I held my head in annoyance before trying to focus on the task at hand. This is going to be a long week. Eat a pav. The work studies went underway for me to begin learning under the pro I had gained an offer with. However, this was a ploy for me to get into Hosu. Under the pro hero manual, I will be able to find the hero killer and avenge my brother who I had discovered faced and was paralyzed by Stain. Tenya, are you alright? Yes. Sorry. You know, something's been bothering me for a while, and I wanted to ask you about it. You chose my agency to go after the hero killer, didn't you? I froze knowing that I had been found out. I understand that he is a villain, and it's probably for the better if he's stopped, but we aren't the law. We only enforce it. Manuel stopped for a moment before correcting himself. I'm sorry. It's just that you're rather straight-laced and could be a great hero to the point I don't want to see you fall down a bad road is all. Understandable. Thank you for your concerns. In the side of my eye, I noticed a woman with pink hair and pigtails walking with an infant, looking as if it was smoking a cigar. Should we do something about that woman allowing her son to smoke? It's best not to get involved with Ms. Chiffon. She's a member of the Charlotte family and the wife of Capone Gang Beach. The Charlotte is in this city. Why aren't we arresting her? Look. A random person had come up to the Charlotte woman and ripped her bag with a knife. Get out of town, you damn Charlotte. The woman spoke nothing, but simply began trying to pick up what she had fall while struggling with holding her child. I began moving to help before being stopped by Manuel. If people in the city see you helping a Charlotte, they'll think you're part of the family's underground crime syndicate. It's best to keep walking and pretend nothing happened. But sir. The person who did this will get what's coming to them. Capone doesn't let his family get targeted and turn a blind eye. The sound of a shout came from an alley. The person that had cut the bag went for it to not faze Manuel. Sir. Does this happen often? Sadly. Nobody can stand up to the Charlotte family since several can't even be touched. Those heroes that are bold or stupid enough face the wrath of the sweet enforcers or Big Mom herself if they anger her enough. The main reason they aren't stopped is because someone can't stand up to turn the tides. So all the Charlottes are evil? Not really. There's several that are bad eggs, but if you look, there's one or two that are good. The problem is, the world around us refuses to accept this. I began to look back at the woman Manuel called Chiffon to see her tie a knot where the hole in the bag she had was and fill it again. I didn't see at this moment a woman that naturally was evil with an evil son. I simply noticed a woman and her child having the misfortune they did of being born into a family of villains. I wonder if Midoriya is the same and could turn the tides as Manuel said. Izuku Pav. As me and the rest of the Ryukyu agency entered Hosu, we were led by Aunt Lola to her sister's home. From what I learned, Aunt Chiffon lived in Hosu with her family and is making a somewhat honest living. Since her husband is a double agent for the cops to give some info about the Charlotte family, he has a bit of back dealings that he can't say or go into great detail on. It took him some years from what I learned to get where he is in the group, but he's one step away from getting into Big Mom's inner circle. Okay. We're here. We got to the door of an apartment that had the name Capone on the plate. Aunt Lola knocked on the door for a few seconds to pass until the door to the apartment opened. Lola. Chiffon. Both hugged before Aunt Lola gave a baby in her arms a kiss. How are you doing, little Pez? Gagagoogoo. The child seemed to be really happy to see Aunt Lola before Ryukyu spoke up. Thank you for allowing us to stay, Mrs. Capone. Please. Call me Chiffon. So I'm guessing you're Katakuri's little boy. It's nice to meet you. I'm your Aunt Chiffon and this is your cousin Pez. Hello. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I bowed before Aunt Chiffon patted my head. There's no need to bow. It makes me feel bad having my little nephew bow to me. I pulled my head up for Aunt Chiffon to allow us in. So what brings you all to Hosu? Aunt Chiffon asked while I sat to the side with HAIRED trying to help me train with observation hockey. Ryukyu wants Izuku to take down the hero killer as a way to help people see him as a respectful person. Ow. I ended up botching my training at that moment to get hit over the head with a wooden stick. You okay? I didn't hit you too hard, did I? If you didn't hit me hard enough, it wouldn't give me a reason to get this down. All three adults looked at me with some interest for some reason. What? I'm just rather surprised you're taking this so seriously. Most by the time they were at your point of bruising would give up. I glanced at my hands before answering my logic. I've been losing. A lot. And though from what it looks like on the outside, I'm still nowhere near where I need to be in order to win against Katakuri, beat Big Mom and the rest of the Charlotte family that's causing problems. I need to get this down as best I can, or else I won't be able to do anything. Quite the admiration Izuku has. I told you he had drive, sis. Both twins smiled at me while I went back to training. One more time, HAIRED. I'm gonna get it this time. Few days later. I'm past with my training for hockey somewhat getting somewhere. My ability to see attacks coming from Aunt Lola and HAIRED was successful and attacks from Ryukyu to some degree. My skill with armament however has been going a little more than that where I can use hockey to fight with it. Now for villains that I can't make physical contact with, this would be a real game changer. Right now, me, HAIRED and Ryukyu are on patrol with hopes to find and take down the hero killer before he claims another victim. So where are we heading now for checking? HAIRED asked somewhat curious. We need to see where the hero killer will most likely strike and go from there. If that's the case, I know a few areas that he's most likely going to attack. I reached into my back pocket to pull out a map of the city. From what I've gathered, the hero killer targets his prey in spots near hero agencies, where the chances of someone finding them is high, but still in enclosed areas like alleyways, so nobody will disturb him unintentionally. Out of the pros in the city, these that are written down on the side are most likely the ones he'll be targeting, since there's quite a bit of controversy about how their skill in their work. With this in mind, I can almost guarantee his next target will either be Backflow, Big Leap, or Native. So 3 locations. This helps us drop our search by a large amount. Nicely done, Rebunda. Thank you, ma'am. It seems we have 3 uninvited guests here. We all looked over to see a man with a scar on his head walking around with what looked like a cane. From how he was using it, I could almost guarantee he was blind. Admiral Fujitora. So, are you here to hinder my search for Blackbeard or try to bring in my protoget like the Fleet Admiral would most likely do? On the contrary. I am here to help with the search for the hero killer. He poses a threat to both Marines and heroes alike. Though I don't like allowing aid to a pirate, I think it's fair to have a small truce for a greater good. This didn't sit right in the Dragon Hero with it being known from the start. I don't buy it. What else is there to this? Smart as ever, I see. Call it curiosity. Katakuri has been spotted in the city along with the Fire Fist. If you know why 2 high-ranking members of the 4 emperors are here, then I suggest you say it. Katakuri's here. My mind went blank to start charging for a general direction. Rebunda. Ryukyu tried to shout for me to come back with it not registering in me. All I wanted to do was stop Katakuri before anything bad happens. Third person Pav. Eager kitty is. Fujitora looked to his side before seeing a girl with orange hair and a light blue Chinese outfit on. Battle Fist. I'd like you to peruse and assist Rebunda, I think Ryukyu said his name was, and if anything bad happens, you both have authorization to use your quirks. Relay that to the boy. Yes, sir. The girl ran out towards Izuku's general direction before a loud explosion was heard. What was that? I don't know, but I have a feeling people need our help, Najire. You aren't against helping fight villains alongside pirates, are you? The Admiral opened his walking stick to show a cane sword. I'll put up with it for the greater good of others. With Izuku. Izuku ran as fast as he could through the city with the orange-haired girl running beside him. Hey. Wait up. He slid towards a corner before the girl grabbed the back of his costume and see her hand go through. What the? She slid into a newspaper stand to make Izuku stop. Why are you following me? First off, can you at least say sorry for making me go into something? Why did you try to grab me? Cause you're running away while I'm trying to talk to you. The girl was mad with Izuku looking as if he didn't care. Look. We're getting off on the wrong foot. You're Izuku Midoriya, right? I'm Itsuka Kendo of Class 1B. Nice to meet you. Now I have a hero killer to stop and then a villain father. So you're a Charlotte like people say. Izuku was waiting for Kendo to say something negative before she patted his arm. I hope you're not like the villains of them. The reaction shocked Izuku since she was somewhat fine with this. So where exactly are you going? I was going to find the hero killer first. He's a bigger priority that I can handle first off. Most likely, he's going after Native. Wanna join up then to help take him down? Fujitora gave us authorization to use our quirks. Alright. Hop on then. Izuku knelt down and showed his back to Kendo. Just get on my back dammit. Kendo did as he asked for the image being somewhat off for her. Let's go. Izuku ran as fast as he could with Kendo holding on for dear life. They ran across the alleys before reaching one with the sound of Izuku's classmate Iida shouting in anger. It doesn't matter what you say. You're still the criminal that hurt my brother. Machi Machi. Izuku extended his arm to connect his fist with Stain's before his blade came down on Iida's neck. Pistol. The impact sent Stain back a bit with Izuku standing in front of Iida, letting Kendo down. You good sir Spectacles. Why are you here? Is this part of your filthy plan to get Stain to join the Charlotte family? Iida shouted in anger with no factual evidence to this with it angering Kendo. All you are is a villain that is no different than that monster over there. So why don't you just accept that? Kendo. Take Native out of here while I cover your back. When he's safe and to the streets, call for backup and come back to bring Iida out. Right. Kendo ran to Native who was struggling from a stab wound to his side for the big fist quirk user to enlarge her fists and take him out. I won't let you interfere in my work. Stain came at Kendo with Izuku standing in between them. Out of the way, boy. Izuku sent a bubble of Machi out to incapacitate Stain when it ruptured. Go. Kendo ran out of the area as fast as she could while Izuku cracked his knuckles. Time to see what you've got, hero killer. A knife came barreling at Izuku's cheek for him to use his Machi powers to avoid it. For some reason however, this failed with a gash through Izuku's mask being seen. Hockey. Avoiding more danger, Izuku pulled away from Stain when he came charging at him. I can assume that you were shocked by the attack landing to prove you were planning for it to be evaded by your power. That won't work with me, boy. Izuku evaded a slash before covering his fist in hockey to punch Stain in the face again. This was quickly countered however by Stain stabbing Izuku in the forearm. Damn it. Izuku kicked the hero killer away before pulling the knife out and covering the open wound. Gotta focus and use observation hockey. Tell me, boy. As a member of the Charlotte family, do you ever feel as if you're limited with what you're doing? Izuku raised my eyebrow at this while Stain explained. Heroes nowadays are fakes. Only become such for the glory and fame that comes by wearing the mantle they do. This makes the name hero lose its meaning and will never do what they should when push comes to shove. Those that truly do something for the better of the world are rare now and outshined by these fakes. What happened with you is a fine example. You most likely struggled to get to where you are, made to pick up the scraps by these heroes who ridiculed you for something you had no say in, while they were put on a pedestal. So why protect the fakes? The less that are in your way would make the things you wish to do much easier. The young Charlotte looked at Iida and back at Stain before answering. You're probably right, Stain. People that do things just for monetary gain are very average among the heroes. I've also been treated no better than a Charlotte that's in Big Mom's group. For me, I'd want nothing more than for all these people to just drop dead for treating me like that. But accepting this would mean I'm no better than the words that they call me. With that in mind, I'll stop you here to prove to them I won't become what they believe I am. Izuku charged at Stain again for him to use hockey to coat his weapons. I guess I'll have to take you down before I end the false heroes. Stain slashed at Izuku for him to see it coming and dodge with a sidekick to the side to counter. Sadly, the hero killer took this and stabbed another knife into the large boy's calf. I gotta do this fast or else I'm not gonna have enough strength to fight Katakuri. Machi Machi. Shrink. Izuku reduced his size to evade Stain and counter. He pulled the dagger out and bandaged his leg quickly before using the sides of the alley to move quickly and slam into the hero killer. The speed of which he was moving was too fast for the hero killer to outmaneuver to hit him with impact after impact. Time for a tactical move. Izuku started to incorporate the ground in his technique to alter the angles. Machi machi. Ricochet. Stain was hit with a stomp to the face. Stain's head went down to the ground with Izuku jumping back. The dark vigilante was knocked out for the fight to be over. Not bad, Izuku. The sound of a hand clapping was heard for Izuku to look where it was. On the side, Katakuri was seen clapping his hands at his accomplishment. Seems the league going off on their own didn't make a difference. Katakuri. Izuku came charging at his father. The two collided fists with Izuku ready to begin a fight again. I'm taking you down this time. Is that right? I hope you can manage that. Third person Pav. Izuku pulled back and began bending his knees in a squatting position. So tell me, Izuku, have you gotten stronger since last time? Why don't you see for yourself? Machi machi. Jet force. Izuku leapt at Katakuri for it to be easily dodged. You're faster, but that doesn't mean much. The Charlotte was cut off with Izuku using the walls of the alley to ricochet him around and strike Katakuri in his back. So he used the walls as a way to get to my back so I couldn't see him so well. Impressive. I'm not done yet. Izuku continued to use the walls to jump off of to avoid Katakuri from seeing his direct attack. Armament hardening. Izuku hardened his fist with as much armament hockey as he could to slowly turn it a dark purplish tint. Now, machi machi. Izuku went right for Katakuri's face to connect with it. Jet rifle. The sound of the impact echoed into the dark alley for all to hear. Iida laid on the ground amazed from the sound from the two. Such force. Midoriya without a doubt had gotten stronger. But how? Izuku began to notice the restriction in front of him to know something was off. So you learned hockey. Something tells me Whitebeard had something to do with it. Or was it one of his sons or daughters? Damn it. Izuku tried to pull back but was grabbed by Katakuri. Where do you think you're going? Katakuri slammed Izuku to the ground and began using his machi abilities to create multiple tendrils out of his leg as he lifted it. Yanagi machi. Seeing this coming, Izuku pulled away as fast as he could with getting a distance from Katakuri. Behind you. Iida shouted for Izuku to look behind and see his father grab his head and slam it into the pavement. Face it, Izuku. You don't have the strength to beat me, and you know something else. Katakuri went down to Izuku's ear to state to him what he wanted to say. You never will as you are. This comment enraged Izuku for him to grab Katakuri's wrist to flip his father. He was able to, but all this did was force the Charlotte to let go. I'm gonna take you down, you bastard. Izuku's body began to grow back to normal for him to begin using his next ace trick. Machi machi. Growth. Both Izuku's hands began to grow to insane sizes before attacking Katakuri. Machi machi. Giant Gatling. Blow for blow, Katakuri dodged them before coming close and personal to Izuku. This is why I said you have no luck with beating me. You're nothing but a child facing an adult's game. Izuku's head was grabbed before seeing a knee strike his face and break the green-haired boy's nose. Crap. I let him in too close. The onslaught didn't stop there as Katakuri slammed Izuku to the wall by grabbing his hair before unleashing a brutal barrage of punches and kicks. He's right. I can't do this alone. Izuku felt another punch to the stomach. What's the matter, Izuku? Not as easy as last time. Katakuri threw Izuku to the garbage cans while he continued belittling him. This was pathetic. I thought you'd give me more work than that. Whitebeard wasted his time for the likes of you. Before he could say more, a strange area went around the alley with a fist coming right at Katakuri's face. It sent him back sliding before the massive villain recomposed himself. You want to fight, then why don't you pick on us? Kendo came back into the alley with Todoroki out of all the people she could've. Midoriya. You alright? The bicolored hair teen asked as Izuku slowly got up. Yeah. But what are you doing here? I came with Fire Fist. I'm learning under him for the work study. Izuku refocused his attention on Katakuri. So what are we facing here? Kendo asked, enlarging her fists to prepare for a fight. Normal attacks won't work. Make sure you also avoid any attacks where his body turns blackish purple. So he's strong with hockey, huh? Good thing Admiral Fujitora gave me a few pointers. Katakuri looked around him to feel an abnormal presence. So I'm guessing one of you two used a devil fruit. I guess I'll have to take you both down before we settle our business, Izuku. Katakuri pulled his arm back with his fist coated with armament hockey. Yakimachi. He sent the fist barreling off his arm and towards Todoroki. Shambles. His body was replaced by a garbage can that left the alley and exploded from the impact with the fist. The op fruit. A dangerous one if you're left to your own devices. Watch where you're looking. Kendo used armament hockey on her fists to immediately start attacking Katakuri. This did next to nothing as the Charlotte turned his body into Machi and evaded all the attacks by making holes in his body. Midoriya. Izuku jumped up above to hold his leg up. If Katakuri can do that, so can I. His legs started changing shape to have tendrils transform into legs as his father did. Yanagi Machi. He stomped the tendrils down to try and hit Katakuri. He was barely able to dodge this in his Machi form before having a wave of ice nearly freeze him. Don't think you're getting away this round. The three surrounded Katakuri for him to somewhat be impressed. If you three are going to become heroes, you might actually be able to surpass some of the big wigs in this world. However, his fists began to condense into square shapes to punch at Kendo. Kakumachi. She tried to block it with armament haki active, but the result ended with her hands being slashed up. AHHH. A large amount of blood came off her palms as the big fist quirk user had to shrink her hands back to their normal shape. You bastard. Izuku attempted to punch Katakuri, but he avoided it by kneeing his son in the stomach and walking out of their corner. In a fit of anger, Todoroki sent a wave of fire at the Charlotte for him to merely alter his body's shape and evade the attack. You heroes are pathetic. If you spent half the time you should training your bodies as you did your quirks, you might actually be able to beat Big Mom. Katakuri began looking at Iida, who was slowly able to move again. He walked over to stomp on his back and keep the engine quirk user on the ground. And you're the most pathetic person I've ever seen. Not only did you go after the hero killer out of rage, but you did it without thinking about the consequences of doing it alone. You're no hero. Katakuri lifted his foot up to stomp on Iida's back and crack a rib in the process. You're no different than the monster you claim me to be. Get your fucking foot off of my classmate. A fist that looked as if it was red in the center came at Katakuri for him to dodge it. The fist exploded and made Katakuri look back to his son and see his arm reshaping with Machi. I'm only going to say this once, you son of a bitch. I can take the bullshit you give me. I can take the bullshit my classmates give me. But you have no right to criticize them for their own actions when you don't even know them. Izuku charged at his father with him activating haki and his Machi skills. He compressed his fists like his father did for him to smirk. You catch on quick. Katakuri did the same for them to fight blow for blow. Their fists echoed with one another for most to think that the two were equal. However, the three in the alley could see Izuku wearing down due to the lack of ability to control haki nearly as well as Katakuri. We gotta do something. Kendo looked over to Todoroki, who held his left hand out. A few sparks came to his hand for an idea to get brought into the orange-haired girl's head. Can you use that op whatever it is to swap yourself and another person? As the two thought of the plan, Izuku began to get overwhelmed by his father and get pushed back. What's wrong, Izuku? Running out of steam? I'll admit, you've gone up in the world since we've last fought. Izuku's power dwindled for a single moment for Katakuri to take the advantage and punch him in the face and grab his head to slam back into the concrete. But you're still worlds away from me. Kendo came charging at Katakuri for him to see this coming and hold his hand out. Pathetic. As she was about ready to punch, Kendo swapped places with Todoroki, who held his palm out with electricity and heat emanating off of it. Now. Heat scalpel. A large amount of electricity came at Katakuri, with his hand melting from the heat to have his body get electrocuted. The alley began to be lit up in a large amount of light from the voltage before dimming down. When it did, Katakuri remained motionless, standing up with his body smoking. Kendo. Grab Midoriya. Todoroki went towards Iida, who was getting up to help by grabbing a shoulder of Izuku's for both him and Kendo to lug the larger teen out of the alley. Well, that was quite a trick. You almost had me there, kid. All three looked behind for Katakuri to charge at them and immediately sent Todoroki into a wall with a punch. Todoroki. Iida shouted to see his classmate fall unconscious from the hit with blood coming down his head. Don't worry. I'll handle you as well. The Charlotte grabbed Iida by the neck. He slammed the engine quirk user down into the pavement before going to Kendo. And now we handle the ignorant girl that thinks she can win against me. The Katakuri started walking to her with Kendo's mind looking at the situation she was in. Midoriya can't fight right now, Iida and Todoroki are unconscious, and there's no way I can beat Katakuri on my own. So what do I do? As she mulled it over in her head, Izuku began to stand on his own and put her behind him. So you're going to fight me alone? Foolish if you ask me. Izuku was barely conscious, but was going to stand his ground no matter what. I won't let you hurt anyone else. He could barely stand, but refused to back down towards his father. I don't care what happens to me. I'll stop you. Even if it kills me. You really are determined to fight me head on. Admirable in pride, but stupid in mind. Katakuri pulled his arm back with both preparing for the impact. Fire fist. From above, a large amount of fire came at Katakuri for him to jump back and be met with a kick to the face. Get away from my student. Katakuri was tossed back behind Kendo and Izuku to see both Ryukyu and Ace stand in front ready for a fight. You've got two choices right here, pal. Either you take your leave now, or we get violent. Ace began to activate his flames to prepare, while Ryukyu was ready to transform into a dragon to fight. They must have been lured here by that electrical attack from the devil fruit using kid. Fair enough. I came here to deal with a matter we had with Stain. Unfortunately that deal's void now because of Izuku. I'll take my leave now. Katakuri started to leave before Izuku turned to him. Katakuri. I'll see you and that your rocket girl in the near future. I do hope you can make it to Mama's tea party. She's so excited to meet you in person. He disappeared in the shadows with his presence no longer being felt. Son of a. Izuku fell to the ground barely conscious with Fujitora and a bunch of imps following him. They began work on the floor with Ryukyu walking over to Izuku. That was foolish of you to go head on with Katakuri. If things had played out differently, you all would have been dead. Seeing Izuku in pain both physically and mentally made the dragon hero sigh in annoyance. But you were right on the active Stain, and this battle wasn't exactly planned, so I suppose a C for this little incident would suffice. Izuku banged his fist on the ground in annoyance, as once again he lost to his father extremely easily. I need to get stronger. I need to master hockey so I can take him on. The rest of the students had been put in a stable condition to move for Iida and Todoroki to be brought out on stretchers. Endo had asked to remain as a way to help Izuku get brought out, but was denied, saying that she needed to be checked out by a doctor immediately. In the end, none of the 4 UA students would ever forget this night and the nightmares that happened during it. Momopov. The morning came for me to wake up on the marine ship of the pro I was doing my work study with. I began to dress before exiting the cabin and heading above deck. There. I met my work study instructor to salute him. Sengoku, sir. At ease, kid. I'm too old to be saluted like that. He continued to eat from his morning meal before looking at the morning paper. Seems the hero killer is down and out. Respect to the person that did this. From what I remember, the hero killer is a powerful enemy that requires at least one vice admiral to take on. So who was strong enough to take him down? You're from the first years, right, Creati? Yes, sir. He went through the paper before asking another question. You know some kid named Ribunda? Apparently he took down Stain. The Charlotte took down the hero killer. I grabbed the newspaper to see the article. Last night during an attack by 3 man-made creatures discovered to be Nomu made by the League of Villains, a new name to the Hero Society, had been given the ability to defeat the hero killer called the Charlotte Hero. Ribunda. From Pro Hero reports of Fire Fist and Ryukyu as well as from Admiral Fujitora, Ribunda was able to do this through authorization to use his quirk. I threw the paper to the ground in anger. Damn it. Seems you're in a fit. What was he, an ex-boyfriend or something like that to dump you cold? Hahaha. Sengoku kept eating for me to desire beginning training immediately. Sir. Please allow me to train with the 6 powers so I can defeat the Charlotte. Yeah. Not gonna happen. He ignored me to start picking his nose, acting like I wasn't even there. Why though? Because I don't feel like it. I was holding back the urge to scream at my uncle's predecessor to the title of Fleet Admiral before he continued. The trick is for the Marines to keep peace, not for you to start a cold-blooded pursuit against a kid that has a cleaner record than most high-ranking Marines and heroes. To be honest, if he wasn't a Charlotte, you'd be friends with him. But Sengoku looked at me seriously before cutting me off. Do not think I have forgotten what your uncle and I have covered up in regards to what you've done to him. If the hero board were to find out about it, you'd be expelled from the hero course and never be one. You can also forget about being a Marine like your uncle, since an act of violence like that would immediately ban you from joining. You're lucky that I even agreed to bring you on my ship. He got up to go near a hammock setup. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm late for my morning nap. He immediately fell asleep for it to anger me to no end. I guess I'm alone with training today. Again. Izuku Pav. I started to wake up in a hospital bed feeling my body ache all over. Ow. Where am I? In a hospital. I looked beside me to see Kendo sitting in the bed beside me with her hands bandaged up. We fought Katakuri last night and well. She motioned in front of us to show Iida and Todoroki in the hospital beds across the room. Oh yeah. That happened. I felt a bit irritated before feeling nothing on my face. Alright. Who took my mask off? Here. I was tossed my mask by Ryukyu, who walked in the door with Ace, Manuel and Fujitora. I was able to swipe it off of the nurses, who seemed to be scared how much you look like your father with a scar. Not like I want to be like him. I started to get up before Ace came running at me and kicking me in the head. You idiot. What made you think facing off against Katakuri was a smart idea? You knew how that ended last time. I was sent flying into the wall with a heater breaking my fall. Sorta. The hero killer was one fight I won't argue about you going into, since it was a major win on your end, with some media outlets acknowledging that he had dealings with the Charlotte family and it ending because of you, but seriously. You just survived against your old man the last time. I sat up a bit before holding my head down. I had to. I needed to see just how far I still had before I could even face him head on seriously. I knew I couldn't win to be honest, but I needed to make sure I wasn't going to put too much faith in my own skill. Well, he was still holding back if it makes a difference. Everyone looked at Ryukyu somewhat surprised. Katakuri's an awakened devil fruit user. What you saw wasn't him using those powers, and he's far more powerful than you all could have imagined. I could have figured when my scalpel attack didn't do anything. Todoroki held his head down with the mood in the room not getting any better, with Ace trying to drive a point across. Look, I honestly think you all were stupid. You in particular, Spectacles. Iida didn't exactly fight this, since he kinda was in the hospital bed because of his idiocy facing Stain over Katakuri. However, I'm not against stupidity so much. I honestly play it a lot in my case. Sometimes though, you do need to be stupid a bit to learn hard lessons. The air in the room was a little difficult around us for the adults to leave. Why don't we clear out some of the bad air for a few minutes? We'll be outside. When it was just the four of us in the room, Iida began speaking up. Ahem, Midoriya. I wish to apologize. I had seen you as a villain since before we had even gotten into UA, and well. It's fine. Everyone did. No, it is not. I wish to help uphold the legacy of my family as great heroes. I cannot be committing acts of discrimination. Especially since you saved me from, you know. I smirked a bit for a minute before asking. Are you going soft on me, Spectacles? I am not. But, I think. You at least deserved an apology from me and a promise that I will be striving to at least treat you as an equal that wishes to become a hero. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow. You and me? Equals? Ha. Don't make me laugh. Nothing about us is equal in the slightest. I started laughing a bit to irritate Iida. Do not laugh at me. I am earnestly trying to apologize. Ahahaha. Ah. But seriously though, it takes a lot of guts to apologize and be the bigger man when you're wrong. Not many are willing to do that. Well. It's only fair in my opinion to say what I had needed to. The tension was getting somewhat easier before Kendo spoke up. So Todoroki, what exactly did you do to get the devil fruit thing? The giant gave me Uraraka and Shinso devil fruits to eat. I can't swim anymore because I ate one, but the abilities I get from it are somewhat worth it. Devil fruits make you lose your ability to swim? Iida asked in curiosity. But I've seen Midoriya swim in training. I can handle freshwater. Saltwater is what I can't do also. I didn't eat a devil fruit. This power is naturally mine that was made from a devil fruit as the foundation. Huh. You learn something new every day. Everyone laughed a bit at Kendo's comment before she turned towards me. So Midoriya. I wanted to talk to you about last night. If it's about you and me being a thing, I'm not up for having a strong-willed tomboy as a girlfriend. Sorry, hun. You're sexy and all, but that wasn't where I was going. She shouted before calming down. I wanted to just say, if you're willing to get help facing Katakuri and the Charlotte family, I'll help and maybe I can get some of my classmates to do the same. This surprised me a bit hearing. That's a shock. Not many are willing to help out. Well, last night was kinda a deciding factor with me. I was really inspired by how you stood against your father even when you were barely conscious. That means a lot that you refused to fall to him. I felt a little pride in hearing this before the door opened back up again. So you're the kid that Chiffon talked about. Chiffon? How does he know my aunt's name? A strange man walked in and took a seat beside the bed I was laying in. We were never formally introduced, have we? My name is Capone Gang Beej. Chiffon's husband and Pez's father. I'm also the captain of the Firetank Pirates. Where have I heard that name before? Todoroki questions for Beej to empty some of his cigar ashes in an ashtray he had. You probably remember me from my work with your father, son of Endeavor. I'm a double agent for the cops that's trying to get some dirt on Big Mom to bring her down. A while back, I found out about Izuku here and wanted to make some time to discuss some things with him. Beej breathed out some smoke before continuing. You've probably already heard of the tea party that's happening in a little bit. If you're willing, I'd like you to agree to the arranged marriage between you and this Uraraka girl. What? I immediately got up in anger. Easy kid. I'm saying this because I have a plan. It's not safe to talk here though. If you and the three here would please join me to talk this over in a place far less open, then we can discuss the finer details with those part of this. I looked around for everyone to agree. We walked near him to suddenly shrink down to a miniature size before being placed in an open compartment in his body. Once in it, the inside looked completely different than we imagined. Amazing. It's like we're in a castle. Isn't this a person though? Allow me to explain. Beej came out of nowhere for us to be spooked a little. I ate what's known as the fortress fruit. With it, my body can transform into a moving fortress. I can also turn myself into an actual moving fortress. Along with this, I can also make a version of myself to communicate to those I shrink and place inside. So we're talking to a copy of you right now. Exactly, Izuku. We continue to walk before coming to a set of showers. So you have running water here as well. Beej nods at Kendo. I have some clothes set out in the washrooms. Take a shower to revitalize yourselves before we discuss things any farther. He walks away with the four of us looking at one another. Is it safe to shower in someone? I shrugged before walking into the one labeled men's. He's offering. The least we can do is accept his generosity. Walking in, I glance at the clothes put out to see they're kinda fancy suits. Well, they're clean and nice. I guess I can take that as a benefit of the day. Half an hour later, I began placing the suit on to notice Beej being kind enough to give a face mask that fit the suit rather nice. Since there wasn't a tie though, I kept the top two buttons with the face covering being around my neck and up to my nose. When me and the guys walked out, we saw Kendo walk out in a thin strap blue dress with a hem on the side open to her upper thigh. Well, aren't you snazzy? This was what I had given to me. I'm just saying it looks nice. Just take the compliment. Half the time I can't tell if you're serious or being a jackass. I gotta give her that one. Some guy in a suit and hat came up to us to bow. Please follow me. The others are waiting. We followed the guy down a corridor to a door. When he opened it, Beej along with Ace, Ryukyu, Fujitora, the division commanders and Whitebeard, even HAIDO, Shinso and Uraraka were sitting inside with formal attire. Now that you're a little refreshed and not looking like you came out of a hospital, let's begin. I took a seat beside Uraraka. So you said you had something to talk about? Yes. For those of you that do not know about me, I am an undercover agent inside the Charlotte family for the cops. About 2 years ago, I was able to enter inside the crime ring and had been steadily gaining height in their ranks. Just recently have I obtained status to go to her tea parties. However, Izuku being a member of the family is able to join the next immediately. With this, he can immediately gain her trust to put her in a sense of ease. And what will that allow us to do? Ryukyu questions. We can initiate an attack and take down the head of the Big Mom Underground Corporation. The main reason we can't stop Big Mom is because of her sweet enforcers and her devil fruit. Her power is called the soul fruit. With it, someone can have their soul taken as well as several years of their lifetime and be placed in an inanimate object to bring it to life with its own personality and everything. The drawback is if you do not fear death, it doesn't work. Which is pointless here, since most people fear Big Mom. Whitebeard rubbed his chin thinking of this before responding to this info. This could be hard. Though she seems unbeatable, she has two weaknesses. An uncontrollable desire for sweets and a temper. Take away the sweets or have something not go right and you can put her in a blind rage where even her children fear her. We'll use that to our advantage. So you'll use the arranged marriage as a way to get close before you destroy the sweets for the party, as well as incur her wrath. This doesn't seem like we'll be able to bring her in alive. You're correct, Fujitora. A while back, I was given authorization if I get an opportunity to kill Big Mom. This came after she destroyed a small island because it wouldn't produce enough fruit for her liking. She's extremely dangerous and needs to be taken down. Even if that means being taken out. Beej looked at a watch before standing up. I'll give you all the fine details as things progress. For now, this plan stays between us. His men let us out with Fujitora stopping me for a second. Midoriya. A word. I turned to him with my classmate sticking close enough to hear. Before you say anything about what I am about to say, know that what I will state now is not common knowledge outside of the admirals and fleet admiral, yet with this being a Kano's order specifically. Okay. First off, have you ever heard of the 7 warlords? What are those? Uraraka asked for me to explain. The 7 warlords are a group of underground legal vigilantes that the world government gives a blind eye to a majority of their crimes in exchange for doing acts given to them by the Marines. In their ranks, they are as followed. The greatest swordsman in the world, Hawkeye Mihik. The Sword of the Desert, Sir Crocodile. The Lord of Shadows, Gecko Moria. The Ruthless Tyrant, Bartholomew Tyrant Kuma. The Snake Empress, Bo Hancock. The Knight of the Sea, Jinbei. And probably the most dangerous of them, the Heavenly Devil, Don Quixote Flamingo. These 7 make up one of the most powerful syndicates in the underworld that are able to be used at a moment's notice by the world government to purge out everyone who stands against the Marines. Sorta. Whitebeard came over to us explaining a hole in my explanation. The warlords are dangerous, but they also for the most part do as they please with ignoring most of the calls of the Marines. Taking this to light, you may have a few come after you, but the majority may find it pointless unless you anger them or there's no other choice. Regardless, I'd watch your back if I was you, Midoriya. The Marines decided you were more dangerous than you actually are to put a target on your head, and it's because of that you should take precautions. At Marine headquarters, third-person POV. Sitting at a table with files given, 7 figures of multiple shapes and sizes were briefed by Akaino. Starting today, I want the warlords to kill this kid. Each person looked at the file with a picture of Izuku in it. So the warlords are now just your attack dogs on some kid. A man with a golden hook asked while smoking a cigar. Son of Katakuri Charlotte. I didn't even think he had a son. Another man with a large sword on his back and a cross around his neck commented. I'll join if I can have his corpse when it's all over. Gishishishi. A rather pale man having a gothic look stated with a laugh. Don't you have like a million zombies already, Moria? Whatever, this could at least be fun. A strange man with what looked like a pink feathered piece on his shoulders placed his feet on the table, somewhat ignoring the meeting. I do not see the humor in this. A woman with a rather slim figure states while sitting on a giant snake. Look at the person who the boy is under the care of. A man that looked like a whale shark said for the group to see Whitebeard's name. Discovering this, the last figure, who was a man that was more top-built, pulled a Bible out to begin reading. May the heavens send his eternally damned soul to rest. Ichako Pav. After the work studies, I was able to return home with a little confidence from what I've been through. Not only was I stronger now thanks to both Whitebeard and Whitey Bay, I was also able to learn a little more about some things that the outside world has to offer. I was even offered a spot alongside Todoroki and Shinso to join the Whitebeards if I wanted. Todoroki and Shinso agreed right off the bat, but I wanted to think on it a little. I know it would be an amazing opportunity to join the Whitebeards, and I'd have a lot of opportunities to be able to help my mom and dad, but I didn't want to use that as my only way to achieve my dream. Achako honey, breakfast is ready. Humming mom. I went down the hall to see mom and dad sitting at the table listening to the news. That fiancé of yours really is something, isn't he? Dad started laughing to make me blush a bit. It's not like that, Dad. Me and Midoriya are just friends. I began to bite into a piece of toast I had with a bit of sadness coming to me. Besides, he doesn't want to marry me anyway. Maybe not now, but he does really like you. I looked at mom a bit confused. If he didn't like you, he wouldn't give you his honesty in thinking you deserve it or allow you to hug him. From what we saw, this Midoriya kid knows how much of a good friend you are and wants to keep you in his life. Though he's not proud of how you're getting together, he never said that he doesn't like you enough that that'll never happen. I guess. I watched the news to see them have a close-up with the fight between Midoriya and Katakuri. Well, Midoriya should be here soon. I'm gonna go finish getting ready. Izuku Pav. Alright. That should do it. I stood up after finishing the repainting of our apartment door to head in to place the stuff I used to the side and grab my bag. I'll see you later, Mom. Bye Izuku. Have fun at school. I opened the door to walk outside and towards the train. Even after the hero killer fight, people have no respect for me or Mom. While walking out, I had the uncontrollable urge someone was watching me. I brushed it off since I needed to focus and head towards the train station, since I was already running a little late. I wonder if Uraraka got stronger after training with Pops. Since the work studies, I was able to talk a little more with Uraraka and find out a bit more about her. From what she said, she ate some kind of year fruit or something to make her have the ability to turn her or someone back or forward a decent amount of years by just the touch of her hand. I kinda like this trick from how she explained it, since it helps with hiding her, as well as giving her the chance to sneak into enemy bases. I also heard about Shinso eating something called a magnet fruit. Basically, he can make a magnetic polarity similar to that of a magnet that can attract or repel metallic objects. It sounded pretty cool when I heard about it, but still nowhere near as amazing as the op fruit when I did a bit of research on it. Simply put, Todoroki's got a lot of learning to do to make that fruit more powerful. Okay. This feeling of being watched isn't going away. Just who the hell is following me? I began taking a shortcut down a side road before finding a giant shadow thing standing in front of me. The hell is this thing? Ishishishi. It's nice to finally meet you, son of Katakuri. A weirdo that looked like an onion stood on top of a building with what looked like a blade of sand coming at my head. Crap. I dodged it with some weirdo wearing a pink set of feathers, and a guy that had an oversized sword came at my head. I was able to evade before going directly into a built guy with what looked like a bear cap on. Now, Pom. He gently tapped my chest with me, not thinking it was going to hurt, to only feel like a bullet just went through me to send me back into a wall. How pathetic you are. A woman that has an Hercules figure walk up and kiss her finger. Pistol kiss. A heart came at my head for me to dodge and go right into a guy that looked like a shark. Forgive our sudden assault, but we have a job to do. He pulled his fist back before going to punch me and stopping midway. 1,000-brick fist. I didn't understand why he stopped, but my body suddenly felt like a cannonball hit it. I flew back and into a wall again for the 7 attackers to make their faces now known to me. Ah. The 7 warlords, I presume? That's right, kid. Now why don't you be a good little boy and die for us? You do, and this'll be all over quick and easy. Doflamingo smirked as he said this for me to start a group call with everyone in my contacts. But the Chaco, third-person Pav. The Chaco was walking to the kitchen to grab her lunch when her phone began ringing. Hello? Don't bother trying to call for help. We attacked you here with the format of the patrols thought out. No agency is close enough here or patrol for us to be able to handle this quickly. The voice of Crocodile was on the line for a Chaco to get a little worried. Midoriya, what's going on? Perfume fever. The sound of another person's voice was heard with a third shortly after. Red bullet. Ah. Midoriya. Achako tried to find out from what she heard where they were for Izuku to speak up. So you followed me to this back street by the station, knowing we're not in public for someone to defend me. It was easy luring you here. Now, let's end this quickly. Gish. Achako immediately grabbed for the house phone to call for help. 911. What's your emergency? Please help. My friend's in danger. Pop-om. The sound of Izuku going crashing into a wall made Achako shake violently. Forgive us if we are too violent. We wish to end this rather fast to avoid any unwanted onlookers. Ma'am? The dispatcher on the phone tried to bring Achako's attention back towards her. Where is your friend? He's near Raishi Station in an alley. A lot of people are trying to kill him. Do you know how many? Achako began remembering Fujitora's comment about the warlords. S7. There should be about 7 in total. I'll get a pro to head there right away. The dispatcher hung up with Achako, putting Izuku's call on back to start dialing. Achako? Where are you going? Her mother shouted while the brunette rushed out of the door. I need to help Midoriya somehow. I promise I'll be safe. She panicked while calling up someone. Please pick up. Please pick up. Please pick up. Hello? Whitey Bay. I need you to get as many of the division commanders to go to the Raishi station. Midoriya is being attacked by. We know, but we're not even on shore right now to do anything significant. Achako started running faster, hearing this, hoping to help Izuku. Ace and Marco went as fast as they could towards the shore, but it's going to be some time. We did also inform the school with Izuku contacting them as well. I'll see what I can do to at least help Midoriya have a more even fight. Uraraka. Don't. Goodbye. She hung up with Whitey Bay and continued the call with Izuku to hear him repeatedly get the snot beat out of him. Why aren't you fighting back, Midoriya? This is dangerous. But Izuku. Barely able to stand, Izuku's 7 attackers began to question what is keeping him from fighting back. Boy, why are you not fighting back? Jinbei came to deliver a solid fist to his stomach for Izuku to bend over in pain. If you keep refusing to, we will kill you if this progresses. He gave a solid punch to Izuku's face for him to slide back. I've had enough of this. Hancock pushed Jinbei out of the way to pull Izuku's face up to look at her. You know, younger men like you two tend to have more energy. Some women would find this uncontrollably arousing. It even works a bit with me. She began slowly moving her hand from his chin down his chest before moving it back to go up her own waist towards her chest. This somewhat confused Izuku before she made a heart with her hands. Love beam. Every member of the warlords watched as they expected Izuku to turn to stone from this. The Snake Empress walked away thinking the job was done for Hawkeye to hold an impressed look on his face. It didn't work. Looking at the swordsman, he pointed towards Izuku for Hancock to notice him still flesh and blood instead of stone. Either he's in too much pain to focus on that, or he doesn't see you as beautiful enough to succumb to his lust. You. Hancock was enraged. Not just anyone can simply avert her powers for this to become even more dragged on than expected. You filthy animal. She kicked Izuku into a wall holding nothing but rage for the boy. How dare you insult me by taking more time than I should give to the likes of you? I'll tear you limb from limb by the time this is over. Allow me to attempt to end him, Snake Empress Hancock. Kuma walked in front of Izuku with his hand holding something in it. Your strength to stand even to all 7 of us is truly something worth mentioning, boy. However, this is the end of the line for you. He blew a small what looked like a bubble of a paw to him while explaining it. It is not as strong as my greatest attack, but it will do the job. Condensed shock. Izuku tried to move away with the bubble hitting his shoulder to make him feel as if he was in the center of an explosion. The act made all listening through his phone fear greatly for Izuku's life. Bad UA. Thanks to Izuku's quick thinking, All Might was able to be part of the group call for every teacher in the school to listen to the beating Izuku was being given. Pros like Vlad had wondered if this was a joke, with Aizawa explaining this was nothing that he would do without merit, since it is literally a call to everyone on his contact list from what the pro can tell. When the shock of Kuma's attack stopped, most didn't expect Izuku to live after this. Silence filled the phone before the tyrant spoke. "You still stand. Geez kid, what are you made of?" Crocodile spoke for Izuku to give a low and pained wheeze. "This has gone on long enough. Nezu, do you know where they're at?" Aizawa spoke, not wanting to hear his student get hurt even more. "I have pros going there now, as well as a unique guest who made his appearance in Japan a few days ago." "Tell me something boy, why are you not fighting back?" Jinbei asked for everyone to turn their attention back towards the call. Those that had obtained the call listened carefully as this happened. "If I do, then I'd be no better than that man. I want to be a hero. So I'll not fight. Even if I die. I won't use my quirk. I'll take everything you have like I always do from people. I'll bear the pain. I'll become stronger from it. And when I'm done, I'll become the one to turn the tides for the Yankos." The sound of Izuku breathing in was heard for each teacher to prepare for the next part of his speech. "You hear me? No matter what anyone gives me, I'll stand on top no matter what to become the one to take down the Char." Izuku stopped with the sound of laughter going over the phone. "Shishi. And that's how you do it. Cold-blooded murder. Shishi." Moria's laughter shook everyone in the room to the core as well as everyone listening. "Well, that was a waste of time." Crocodile spoke up while flicking a lighter from the sounds coming off the phone. "I guess Akaino used us for a pointless fight." "Nezu, is this call being recorded?" Aizawa spoke in anger for the rodent to nod. "Oh well. At least the job's done." Doflamingo was heard before stopping himself mid-sentence. "The kid's still alive. But Izuku. Even when faced with immeasurable damage and pain, the child still lives. Truly amazing." Hawkeye seemed rather impressed with Crocodile walking up to Izuku with his hook pulled up. "I'm done playing games with this kid. I'm ending this now." As he was about to swing down, Jinbei grabbed the hook in anger. "Do you honestly want to stop me from doing our job? Fishman. The boy has suffered enough. We have beaten him to a state in which nobody should be able to live, yet he still stands strong. He has also chosen to refuse fighting us in hopes to appease the law which we have so blatantly broken. Even if it would have been much better for him, he still refused to stand and fight us as a symbol of his honor towards his final goal. This boy is more respectable today than we could have ever been, and I refuse to let such generosity as such fall. Hehe. Do you honestly think you can protect him from all of us? That honor you have with Whitebeard is a nuisance." Doflamingo began moving his hands towards Jinbei before seeing Kuma stand in front. "You want to play hero too, Kuma? As a man with ambitions, I admire and wish to honor Izuku Midoriya's wishes to become a man to turn the tides against Big Mom. Fine then, you two can die with the boy." Crocodile seemed rather irritated before noticing Hancock and Hawkeye begin to leave. "Where do you two think you're going? I've had enough of this. The boy won today." Hawkeye pointed towards the floor to show Izuku's phone on and giving a call. "This whole conversation has most likely been recorded and given to the police. In the end, we're the villains in this and not Midoriya. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave now as well. The boy's done nothing but anger me today, and I feel as if I need to shower off this filth I feel." As they left, Moria, Doflamingo and Crocodile pointed their attention towards Jinbei and Kuma. "I don't care if I have to kill you both, if you get in my way, you're dead." Moria began making his shadow come alive before it was cut to ribbons. "What the? Seems you're all having fun here. Mind if I join?" A man with red hair and 3 scars down his left eye walked into the abandoned street somewhat agitated. What was more notable about him was the loss of an arm on one side of his body. "Ah. Red-haired Shanks." Moria began panicking with both Crocodile and Doflamingo glaring down the Yanko. "If you three want to fight, then I'm able to fill that mantle compared to a kid who doesn't want to lift a fist to people that deserve it." Shanks held his blade for a stalemate to be between the four. After a solid minute of agonizing silence, the warlords pulled back knowing that they weren't a match against Shanks. "Consider this a draw, red hair. The boy however is going to be taken down soon enough. Take that as you will." Doflamingo gave this last bit of information before leaving with Moria and Crocodile. Once gone, Shanks turned to Izuku who was hardly even breathing. "It's okay kid. I'll take you somewhere safe. I gotta admit though, you beat the warlords without lifting a fist. That takes admiration in my book." Shanks began calling for his men to bring Izuku towards UA, with the figure of Katakuri staring up from above clearly angered to no end. "So you think it's fun to go after my son, don't you Akaino? No matter. I'll make sure you know why nobody goes after the Charlotte family soon enough." Momopov. Class had started strangely late today with us being almost half an hour in and there still being no teacher. Anyone know what's going on? Kirishima questions with everyone in the dark as well. The only people that were not acting as if something was odd were Todoroki and Iida, who held a face of fear over them. Hey. Some red-haired guys walking into UA. Uraraka and the monsters with him too. Red hair. We all walked towards the window for us to see the man and my face lose all color. That's red-haired Shanks. One of the 4 Yenkos. Wait, you mean those 4 that are the strongest like Whitebeard and Big Mom? The same as Shido. Mr. Izawa and Recovery Girl immediately ran out to motion the villain into the building, with Uraraka staying as close as she could. Not long after they walked into the building, Ms. Midnight came in fairly shaken up. Everyone. I need you to come with me to the auditorium right now. This is an assembly for first-year hero students immediately. Matters in regards to an attack on a student must be addressed this instant. We followed Ms. Midnight with Iida and Todoroki walking up to her. Does this have anything to do with the contact we had gained from Midoriya this morning? Is he alright? All your questions will be answered later. Right now, just follow me. We entered into the assembly room with Class B already there. Kendo ran up to our class and spoke with Todoroki and Iida. You think this is about the warlords and the attack on Midoriya this morning? Warlords? Possibly. I only hope Midoriya isn't too badly injured. Iida looked to his hand with Todoroki starting to walk towards the door before Mr. Izawa and the rest of the UA staff came in. Stay in here, Todoroki. Midoriya's with Recovery Girl now and Uraraka's already informed about the fine details of this meeting since she refused to leave his side. Our teacher walked up to the podium with his face clearly showing anger and rage. I'm certain you all are starting to pick up pieces something is wrong, so I need you to listen carefully. Earlier this morning, one of Class A's students was attacked by the 7 warlords. For those that don't know them, they're a legal vigilante group led by the Marines. If all 7 were stationed to attack someone or something, there is high chance this is the result of being asked to by Fleet Admiral Akaino. Everyone was uneasy with this before Principal Nezu got up to the podium. Due to this, UA will officially stop any and all work studies and internships with the Marines. We will not tolerate one of our students being attacked for no apparent reason. The information will also be given to the police, with any further repercussions being done at a later date. I tried to think of who it would be with the thought of the person in question being most likely the villain. Is Midoriya okay? Kendo from Class B raised her hand for all of us to look at her like she was crazy. Mr. Izawa got back towards the podium to answer. As of right now, Midoriya is in stable condition. He had taken quite a beating with his life being at risk if something wasn't immediately done. However, there are still things that we will have put into place because of this unsightly incident. Principal Nezu continued with his talk. Due to this attack, we will be changing UA into a boarding school. This isn't a new topic and has been brought into question to make into the curriculum for some time, but for one reason or another has been stopped. Starting this weekend, you all will be living on UA grounds with a written form being given to your parents today. Wait, so we gotta live with the Charlotte now? Jiru shouted in agitation with Bakugo adding in. This is his fault. Why are we being brought into this? You wanna know, Bakugo? Izawa took the podium again. Midoriya did nothing wrong today to provoke this. Due to an eyewitness testimony by red-haired Shanks, we know for a fact that Midoriya did not provoke nor instigate the warlords to start this fight. This happened because people just like yourselves wanted to judge Midoriya for something he had zero say in. Have any of you thought for 1 minute that Midoriya most likely doesn't even like the fact he's a Charlotte? Many remained silent hearing this. Didn't think so. Midoriya and Uraraka of Class A for their own protection are going to be moved into the dorms that were already built on school grounds later today. The rest of you, make sure you have everything you need from your home. Going off campus now will be hard to do with the requirement of proper authorization. That's all. We all began walking back towards our classroom before red-haired Shanks walked up to me in particular. With me. Now. We walked towards Mr. Izawa, who seemed more irritated than usual. I'm going to ask you once and you are going to answer yes or no. Did you have any idea that this was going to happen to Midoriya or that your uncle was going to go towards these extremes to get him? What? Did you? He seemed excruciatingly angry to force me to answer to the best of my ability. My uncle said that he would handle the Charlotte after the sports festival and didn't go into any greater detail. I didn't expect him to get a bunch of vigilantes to kill him though. Starting now, any information you have in regards to Akaino and anyone he chooses to go after Midoriya is given to the school. If I find out you're holding back information in regards to Akaino's future endeavors, I will hold you accountable for any acts just as much as him. What? I didn't do anything to deserve this. Are you certain of that? My teacher spoke up in anger. You were put in my class specifically because of the history you have with Midoriya. Up until you were able to do what you wanted without any form of punishment. That won't fly with me. Now I have a student that was assaulted in the infirmary that just fought for his life to check on, so stay out of my sight." He walked away with his words still in my head. "Damned villain. You should have died in the attack. At Marine headquarters, third person POV. So let me get this straight. You two denied to finish the job, the two of you chose to stand with the Charlotte, and you three ran with your tails between your legs when a Yanko showed himself to you. It wasn't just any Yanko. It was red-haired Shanks. Crocodile lit a cigar before continuing. "Even if all 7 of us ganged up on him, I doubt we'd win against him. Especially since his crew wasn't that far behind him from what I could tell." Doflamingo added with a bit of a laugh at the end. "Alright. Then why did the two of you leave?" The boy won that fight without needing to lift a finger. He knew he wasn't a match for all of us at once strength-wise, that he knew. So he used the one thing he knew would make a lasting damage. His mind. "That doesn't answer my question though, swordsman." Hancock raised an eyebrow before explaining why. "Even if we would have finished the job, it would have looked far worse for everyone. Especially the Marines. So to answer your question, it was to save face. Something these 3 didn't care much for." "Are you implying I give bad credibility for my job?" Hancock ignores Moria, who only gets more enraged. "Why, you disrespectful little. Then why did you two side with the Charlotte? And your reasons better be good." Guma pulled himself out of his Bible to look at Akeno. From what it seemed, the boy's pride and strength outmatched anything we could offer. No matter what we would do, Izuku Midoriya would not submit. In my eyes, this was divine intervention to keep him from submitting. Mine was more due to my own beliefs. I joined the warlords to make a link between fishmen and humans, not to play executioner. If you deem this traitorous, then I apologize. The fleet admiral began to catch fire before slamming his fist covered in magma onto the table. "All of you get out of my sight right now." The warlords left with leaving Akeno to himself. That filthy brat. Now that he has done this, my ability to salvage the situation is worn thin. How can I pick up the pieces to save face? The snail began to ring for the fleet admiral to answer. "Akeno, sir. We have a problem." The sound of absolute chaos reigned in the background with the building shaking. "What's happening?" "It's the Charlotte family. They're killing our Mega." The Marine on the line stopped speaking for the sound of what's happening to be stopped as well. The only sound heard after was the voice of Cracker laughing while picking the transponder snail up. "Well, hello Fleet Admiral. It's nice to finally get to speak with you. You're part of the Charlotte family, aren't you?" "As precise as ever, sir. But I'd be more worried about the Rage Father coming to your office. You did a very naughty thing to my nephew. Hope you don't die." "Ahahaha." The he-snail stopped giving a signal for Akeno to look up and see Katakuri standing above him, clearly irritated. "Katakuri Charlo," he was cut off by a fist to the face coated in hockey. "You filthy son of a bitch." He began using his Machi powers to create small rings and beat the fleet admiral faster than he could react. "What gives you the right to harm a child? An innocent one at that, who has no reason to be harmed by you or that fucking bitch of a niece." Akeno tried to attack Katakuri with a magma fist to only miss and gain a knee to his jaw by the angered father. Sengoku was far better of a fleet admiral than you could ever be. He at least gave respect and credit where it was due. Unlike you, who sees it as your sworn goal to rid any lineage of villains even if they're harmless. Katakuri kicked Akeno across the room into the wall with the fleet admiral coughing up blood. "Fleet Admiral, sir." A bunch of Marines aimed their guns at Katakuri for their shots to completely miss, with the father turning to their general direction and show his veins popping out of his forehead. He pulled his arm back with armament hockey covering it before launching a Yakimachi attack to send the line of troops back. "I hope you enjoyed that, because that'll be the last act you ever do as a living being." Akeno attacked Katakuri with a magma fist for it to go right through him in a hole made by his Machi abilities. Immediately, Katakuri grabbed Akeno's face to slam his head down into the floor repeatedly. Each hit, the father saw his son being beaten, stabbed, and slashed by the warlords, obeying the man under his hand's order. He only stopped when the fleet admiral was barely conscious. "If you're worried I'll kill you, I won't. If I do, that'll cause more problems for Izuku and make you look like a saint when you die. No. I'm going to let you writhe in pain as the little outsmarting trick my son did is spiraled all across Japan with the help of the Charlotte family. By the time things are over with, your name will be dragged so deep into the mud, you'd look no different than a villain or the monster you labeled Izuku as." Katakuri stood up looking down at the fleet admiral with Cracker walking in after. "Geez. You did a number on him. He nearly got my son killed. He's lucky he's still breathing right now without the help of a respirator." "Ahahaha. That's funny." Cracker held his spear over Akeno before having his neck grabbed from his older brother. "Gah. Brother. I can't breathe. The fleet admiral lives today. But the next time he does this, I'm ending him personally and making sure he never hurts my son again. The two leave with Akano still on the floor struggling to stand up. Damn. Fucking pirate. Several hours later, Izuku Pav. I started to wake up to a weird ceiling above me. The hell is this place? Midoriya. I was quickly hugged by Uraraka with a sharp pain in my side. Ow. Sorry. She backed away with me looking around to see a somewhat nice house. Where am I? To make a long story short, red-haired Shanks brought you to UA with recovery girl healing you. You've been out for most of the day, and we're currently in the new dorm system that was put up after the attack on you. I tried to get up, but could barely move my body. I remember the part about Shanks, but why are you the only one here, and why does it look a little spacious? We're in the common space. Since there's fear of you and me being targeted, they ask us to get into the dorms as early as today. I was able to help your mom get your stuff, so it shouldn't be hard to get your room set up the way you like it when you can move. So how long is that gonna be? Recovery girl never gave an accurate answer. She said it would be a miracle if you woke up before tomorrow. I laid on the couch silent before feeling Uraraka hug me a little to not hurt me. When I heard that phone call, I was scared. Why, you're my friend and. She began to cry a bit into my chest before continuing. I was afraid you were gonna die when I saw you. Seeing this scene, I was reminded of the times my mother comforted me when I was bullied and hurt by people. Trying to replicate the consoling she gave, I wrapped my arms around Uraraka and gave her a hug. I'm sorry if I scared you, but I promise I'll try harder to prevent you worrying so much. You better. We stayed on the couch for a few minutes like this to try and be at ease with what happened. However, I knew I'd have to get stronger if I wanted to be a match against not only the Charlotte family, but also the warlords and anyone else Akano wanted to send my way. Izuku Pav. The days following the weekend were relatively calm and for some reason, reassuring. After classes, Uraraka and I would do our homework together in the common space after changing into something more comfortable. When we finished, we did a bit of training and then relaxed in the common area. I normally read with Uraraka spending her time watching the news. Since the tea party was this weekend, we were kinda uneasy with what was to happen with us trying not to talk about it. We did have a few guests check in on us and make sure we were doing alright. They mainly consisted of the big three, Iida, Todoroki, Kendo, and the crew of the Whitebeards who were able to come. The strangest person out of everyone to come however was red-haired Shanks. I honestly didn't care that he came since I wanted to thank him for what he did for me during the incident with the warlords. Today however, I knew was going to be a pain in the ass since tomorrow was the tea party and everyone was going to move in today. Come on Midoriya. Mr. Aizawa said he wanted us to head outside. Uraraka started pulling my arm out towards the entrance to see everyone with Mr. Aizawa. Sorry sir, we kinda overslept. It's fine. Midoriya. How are you feeling? Been better, but definitely worse. Can't complain after what happened though. At least you're moving around. Alright, let me explain once again why you are in the dorms, so you all don't complain why you're here. You're here because the Marines Fleet Admiral decided to cause an attack on your classmate Midoriya, who mind you did nothing to provoke an attack. Due to this, we the staff have believed it was far safer for all of you to go into the dorms and live on campus, where we can guarantee your safety a tad bit better than if you were commuting. Midoriya has absolutely zero reason for you to hate him. If you want someone to complain to for having this happen, look to Akano. Mr. Aizawa led us inside where he explained the fine details of what was going on. Basically it was about the guys and girls having two different sides only accessible on the bottom floor, which is the common space with the kitchen, baths, etc. Curfew for you all is 9 in the dorms and 10 in your rooms. Any objections? Yeah, I got one. Bakugo raised his hand while pointing towards me. Why the fuck do I have to live next to him on the second floor? On the chart we were shown, I was positioned between the Pomeranian who was the first room and Frenchie who was on the other side of me. Do you think I'm happy I have to have your ugly mug be the first face I see? I'd rather sleep in the room beside an ogre. At least their face is naturally ugly when they're born for not much to be expected beauty-wise. What you say? He tried to hit me with an explosion for it to go right through me. But you honestly think I was going to get hurt when I've shown you countless times that you can't hit me? Alright, the both of you. If you have a complaint about that, then have someone else trade places with you. Anyone wanna change for the guys with Bakugo? There was silence before Todoroki raised his hand. I've got nothing against Midoriya. Might as well do this to avoid any arguments. Either of you have a complaint to this? I've got nothing against Todoroki. Just keep my fucking room away from his. Any other complaints? Frenchie decided to ask for a change with Iida taking his place for the rest to be kinda simple and straightforward for us to move on. Alright. Just make sure you all don't kill each other or cause problems for one another. I'll see some of you tomorrow. He walked away with me and Uraraka heading towards the couch. I pulled out a book I was reading with most of the class looking at me in anger. You can scowl at me all you want, I did jack to put you here. If you wanna scowl at someone, go towards our classmate Yaoi Rozu. She's the closest link to the person who caused this. Says the man whose father assaulted my uncle. Says the woman whose uncle called for thugs to gang up and try to kill me. This clearly enraged Yaoi Rozu for her to start walking up to me. You little son of a. Uraraka tapped her arm for her to start shrinking down. What the? When she stopped, Yaoi Rozu didn't look that much older than a 5-year-old. What did you do to me? I made you younger by about 10 years. It's an ability of the year fruit. I can turn someone as old as a fossil or as young as an infant. Uraraka went into the kitchen to grab something for us to drink while I decided to rub a bit of salt in Yaoi Rozu's wounds. Well, aren't we just da sweetest widow thing? Screw you, fucking Charlotte. Now, dash not da white language for someone so widow as Wu Dod. I was personally having a good time watching this happen before seeing Yaoi Rozu walk out of the room. Make sure to wear cloths that aren't your mommy's. Up yours. I couldn't resist laughing at her misfortune since it couldn't happen to a meaner person in my opinion. I don't know how long it'll last, but I hope it lasts long enough for me to belittle her a bit more. Ha 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 ha. I kept laughing before seeing Uraraka look at me with a confused look. What? That is the first time I've heard you laugh. To be honest, I thought you couldn't laugh. Oh please. I can laugh, but I don't have much that I can laugh about. Hey, you got a point there. But it's nice to hear you at least moderately happy. Try to show that a little more. Whatever. I continued into my book while everyone else started heading to their room to start unpacking. Maybe I should lighten up a bit around Uraraka. She's not gonna bite me. Few hours later. After dinner, I began focusing on trying to get some training with observation hockey down. Okay. So it seems like most of the class is almost done. A few of the guys are coming down with Yaoi Rozu back to normal. I started to notice Uraraka stand in front of me with a bit of tea in her hands for 2 people. I wonder if he's awake. She waved her hand across my face before moving to sit on my lap. Does he know what I'm doing? Yes. I can tell what you're doing. Ah. She jumped and nearly spilled the tea on herself if I didn't catch the cups. Sorry. I didn't know you were awake. So you sit on my lap. Fair enough. One by one, our classmates began heading down with Ashido deciding for us to do a bit of a room preview to show them off. I personally didn't want to do this with my room being one of the first few on the list. I stood in front of the door keeping people from going inside. Midoriya. Please let us inside. Uraraka asked for me to flat out deny them. Yeah, no. She stared at me with pleading eyes for me to stick to my guns. I'm not letting you in. She started to tear up a bit for me to finally cave. Fine. But nobody messes with anything. Yay. Uraraka hugged me as I opened the door for everyone to walk in. As they entered, most looked a bit judgmental with looking at the posters of some pro heroes, as well as a specific set of my mint condition action figures in cases. This is so cool. Uraraka went right towards my posters before finding my secret stash of mochi. Hazelnut and white chocolate. I don't think I've had that kind before. Also, what's with this label? Never seen it. It's to a special company that doesn't make a lot. In total, they make probably a total of 1,000 cases worldwide a year. I eat those on special occasions. Oh. What a load of crap. Bakugu went over towards me desk to start rummaging through the drawers. Bakugu? That is not right to do to one of our classmates. Shut it 4 eyes. I'm making sure the villain doesn't have any secret weapons or bombs or shit in here. Looking to the side, I noticed Yaoi Rozu start going through my closet as well. So you're trying to find the skeletons in my closet too? Your point? You and I both know that you're hiding things. What, another secret stash of mochi? Or are you looking for dirty magazines? I got something. Kirishima went into my shelf to find a secret mag I've held. Sexy meat. He went through it for everyone to listen closely for what's inside it. This is just a bunch of chubby girls or girls with not the greatest figures posing in somewhat suggestive poses. One's folded over that. Why does this one look like Urara? Alright. I grabbed the magazine back before glaring at everyone. I've let you go through my stuff enough for one day. I think it's fair that we call it a day here. What's wrong? Scared we're gonna find something bad? Ashido confidently smirked while I corrected her. You found out that I hoard special edition mochi and I have a thing for heavier set girls. What else do you plan to find here? I motioned everyone out with Uraraka snatching the magazine from my hand. So, you like chubby girls? I like women that don't look like they force themselves to starve. A little meat is fine as long as it's in moderation. What, you got a problem with it? Nope. She smirked at me while handing back the magazine and skipping out. Well, at least they didn't find this one. I pulled a spot. I hid the mag to have a picture of Uraraka in a cheerleader outfit like she had on because of Kaminari's stupid stunt he pulled. From what I heard, she didn't like it since it showed off too much belly. To be honest, I liked it. Once everything was put away, we continued with the rooms for them to be kinda straightforward and not too entertaining. After, we all voted with the majority, or the girls to be more specific, voting for Sato, who made a cake for everyone. When the showing was done, I started heading to bed before getting called to the front door by Uraraka. There, I noticed Kendo with some of her classmates. Midoriya. I hope you're doing okay. Liv. What's with everyone here? Well, after I played the call in the middle of class, some of us kinda. The girl with black hair came up that I remembered as Yui Kadai. We wish to apologize to you. We had been rather rude to you without reason to be and judged you on something that wasn't your fault. As such, we are sorry. It's not a problem. Honestly, you are no different than everyone else here. But since you've come all the way here, might as well come in. I'll put some tea on. I walked in with Kendo, Kadai and their classmates consisting of Yanagi, Tetsutetsu, Komori, Tokage and Tsunatori sitting on the couch near Uraraka. So you all had a change of heart. They nodded for me to pass the tea around. When we heard the fight with the 7 warlords, we all kinda agreed with understanding that you weren't an evil mushroom. Komori looked a bit down while replying. I know from experience that Yankos aren't good at times. I left America in hopes to get stronger to take on Kaido, the king of beasts. You see, I come from an area in America where if you're born with an animal mutation quirk, you're deemed a member of Kaido's army. For me, I should have treated you like a friend in this, instead of a monster like I was treated. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm really sorry, Midoriya. Tsunatori started to cry a bit for me to lean over and pat her head. Your hatred for Yankos was probably why you hated me. I don't judge you, Tsunatori. I also don't judge any of you for being against me. It isn't your fault and it never was. I've had to live with people hating me for no reason for years, so this isn't new to me. But I judged you like people judged me. Tsunatori started to speak English for me to answer back in the same language. I don't hate you for hating me. If I did, I would be no different than everyone else, as well as I'd become that which they believed I was. Tsunatori blushed a bit as I started making some mochi donuts for everyone. Consider this me accepting your apology. It's a waste of time hating you, and I'd rather have a peaceful interaction with you all going forward. The group seemed a bit surprised at this. To be completely honest, I think they expected me to yell and scream at them. Kaido, huh? From what Shanks said, he's interested in me too. Flashback to a few days ago. You're telling me that you took an interest in Midoriya after the sports festival? Uraraka shouted in surprise as Shanks sat in the common area across from us. That's right. You see, every Yanko watched the sports festival. With this, I have no doubt this is how Big Mom found out about you. To be frank, I would have snatched you up if Whitebeard didn't already. He sipped from his tea before continuing. But be that as it may, I can only assume that you've also taken an interest by Kaido. Who's Kaido? Uraraka asked, not knowing the last of the 4. Kaido is the last of the Yankos and deemed one of the most powerful. Between him and Pops, he'd probably come out on top if the two were to fight. Though this is speculation, Pop's age will be a deciding factor in this, since there's at least about a 20-year gap between the two, as well as Pop's underlying health issues. Don't get me wrong, Pops is amazing and without a doubt would win if the two were on equal playing fields, but that isn't the case. Whoa. There's more to him. Kaido has also eaten a mythical's own devil fruit called the fish fruit. Azure Dragon model. This allows him to transform into a gigantic Chinese dragon. Counting his size and the fact his heads also have mythical's own type fruits, it's not a shock that Kaido's nickname is King of Beasts. So someone like this is interested in Midoriya. From what my sources tell me, Kaido has plans to make a trip here. This is why I decided to make an entrance into Japan. If war was to clash, the Whitebeards will need me and my crew to hold back the Big Mom pirates and the Beast pirates. The fear of this though is how much damage will Japan have. Shanks looked to me with a worried face. I know this is a lot for you to take in, but I need you to find a way to keep Big Mom from siding with Kaido. If she can't side with Kaido, he'd have to worry about 2 Yankos and the fear of a third facing him. It's not the best idea to do, but it's far better than the alternative with this country and its people being destroyed. I understand. Back to present. I need to get stronger. If I don't, I won't be able to stop Kaido or Big Mom if one gets out of line. I kept thinking on the fact the tea party tomorrow would be my best chance. If I can keep in her graces, maybe I can stop Kaido as well to give some form of peace to the Western world for Tsunatori. The problem is, I need to keep that peace no matter what. Izuku Pav. Okay. We're clean and look nice. Time to head out. The day of the tea party came with me giving some final checks just to make sure I was looking presentable. As precautionary measures, Mr. Izawa gave me and Uraraka special wires to put under our clothes to catch and record every conversation we were having and was going on around us. Alright. Mr. Izawa should be here in a minute to pick us up. Walking out and towards the common area, I noticed Uraraka sitting and talking to Asui. She spotted me and smiled. Hey Midoriya. You look very nice. Thanks. You don't look half bad yourself. Oh, gag me with a spoon. Glancing to the side, I noticed Yaoi Rozu walk down glaring at us. Going to meet your disgusting family and wrapping Uraraka in your web of corruption, how shameful of you. If I wanted to wrap someone in a web of corruption, I'd ask your uncle for advice. This seemed to trigger Yaoi Rozu to try and come at me. She was quickly stopped by Uraraka holding her hand out prepared to touch her. I'd back off right now if I were you. If not, we'll see what you look like as an 80-year-old woman next. Both stood their ground before Mr. Izawa's capture gear came over both of them to avoid either moving a muscle. I'd rather avoid having to clean myself more than I already had to. Using a razor today was hard enough. We immediately saw pieces of tissue paper on his face to show he ended up getting himself enough times to show he was out of practice with it. Both girls calmed down a bit before being released. Midoriya. Uraraka. Get ready to leave, we'll be meeting your families at the port where Katakuri and Smoothie will pick us up. We followed our teacher out to a car to pile in. Since I was kinda on the larger side, I had to put the seat pretty far back just to get comfortable enough where it wasn't an issue riding. So Mr. Izawa. How has things been with Midoriya's aunt? From what I heard from Pudding, you and Smoothie have been on a few dates. Anything unique about them? He began thinking before talking about them. We've had about 5 dates. Most were in bars or restaurants that veered to serve both normal civilians and members of the underworld. Not bad places if you want a nice drink, but you do meet some shady people in these spots. Now that I'm thinking about it, how does dating work? I mean, you don't even go to about half her size and well. Uraraka asked with Mr. Izawa sighing before answering. She can do basically the same thing that Midoriya can do. She uses her juice fruit to pull out the moisture in her body and become smaller. In this form, she's a bit shorter than me. Cool. Can Katakuri do the same thing? I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't want to know how I was made between my mom and that man. I answered bluntly as the car ride continued on somewhat quietly. When we finally got to the port, we noticed Mom talking to the Urarakas to motion us to come over. Izuku. It's good to see you again. She hugged me before looking at my body. You look like you're not badly hurt. Are you making sure to eat right? Yeah, Mom. I'm eating right. Are you making sure to bathe regularly? Yes, Mom. I'm bathing regularly. Are you? Mom. I love you, but I'm okay, and you don't have to ask 20 questions. I somewhat wanted her to stop worrying for me before seeing a giant ship come into port. On the flagpole was the Jolly Roger of the Big Mom Pirates. Here we go. The ship docked for Pudding, Katakuri and Smoothie to come off. Hi Izuku. Hi Uraraka. Pudding came over to greet us with her and Uraraka talking among themselves. Smoothie came over to Mr. Izawa to pick him up to her eye level. Shota. She immediately hugged him with a look as if our teacher was somewhat disturbed and sickened by this being seen. Ooh. You smell like you showered. And you shaved. Don't you look so handsome? I figured that I'd need to at least give a good impression if anything. Why of course, since our engagement and marriage will be announced today. What? Both me and Uraraka shouted for Smoothie to look towards us. Why yes. Shota and I will be getting married this winter. When that happens and we have our first child, I shall step down as Minister of Juice in the Big Mom Pirates and focus solely on being a mother to our loving little baby. I could only stare and see a look of neutrality in Mr. Izawa, as it looked like he wasn't even sure if he wanted to do this. Turning to Mom, I noticed Katakuri look down and got on his knees. It's been a long time, Inko. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing fine. I hope you're not overworking yourself, you overgrown tough machi. I'm a tough machi because I like to be one. He glanced over to me with a bit of a calming look. Izuku. I know you and I can't see eye to eye, and you'd probably want to punch me, but can we please at least have some form of a truce on Whole Cake Island? It would be better if Mama didn't know we are at ends with one another. I walked on the ship with little argument before answering. Fine. Let's just go and get this over with. Walking on the ship, I noticed one of my aunts coming out of a mirror to greet me. Why hello there. You must be Big Bro Katakuri's son. She seemed to have a scar over her face from what it looked and began to pat my head. I'm your Aunt Burlee. It's nice to meet you. Izuku Midoriya. I went to a seat on the ship to get comfy before seeing everyone else hop on. When we were set, the ship began sailing with Katakuri and Mom sitting across from me and Uraraka. So Mrs. Midoriya. I was wanting to ask you something. Can Katakuri shrink down to a smaller size, cause the whole you being with a man that is like 5 times your size is Is what? Katakuri looked at her with a glare for your rocket to hide behind me. It's nothing. He didn't stop glaring before having his ear pinched by mom. Don't scare Chako. She's a nice girl and didn't mean anything rude by it. To answer your question, yes he can. Katakuri can shrink down to a size just taller than me when I was younger and about the size of a normal person around his age. Burlee came over to sit beside mom and began asking her about herself and me. They began saying stories of me and Katakuri when both of us were younger to irritate the both of us. This is gonna be a long trip. Few hours later, third person Pav. After Izuku and the group started to doze off, the helmsman began to shout. Whole cake island ahoy. Chako woke and ran up to the front to see the island and marveled at how unique it looked. Wow. It even looks like a cake. Mama does know how to make things rather special. Pudding came up and smiled as the wind blew her hair out of the way for all three of her eyes to see the view. I hope you're ready with a sweet tooth. Mama brings special cakes, desserts, even candies from islands across the world here for her tea parties. I also heard this one has special mochi as a way to welcome you and your teacher as possible members of the family, as well as officially joining Inko and Izuku into it. Special mochi. The brunette started to drool a bit thinking of how they taste. I hope it tastes really good. I'd hope so too. If not, we'd have to deal with Mama's rampage. Smoothie pointed out for Izawa to ask. What do you mean? If Mama doesn't like what she's given or is given an insufficient amount, she asks us to destroy the island as well as the inhabitants, as a warning to those who we make deals with in exchange for protection to make sure they give us the most high quality food. If not, they might be next on this hit list. So you all are guard dogs. For the most part, you can call some of us that, Izuku. The ship began to dock with Cracker standing at the port smiling as the group came off. Why hello there. You must be our new family member Inko. And you two must be Izuku and Smoothie's fiancés. Chako was a bit hesitant with how calmly the Charlotte was acting. Why are you acting so calm around us? Weren't we enemies in the past? Oh, that's water under the bridge. Teenagers go through rebellious phase in life and I shouldn't judge Izuku for that. Besides, you'll be part of our family soon. Might as well make a happy impression on you all. Even though I hit you in the balls. Izuku questioned. Water under the bridge. The Charlotte smiled while Izuku walked off past Cracker with Chako staying beside him a bit worried about the area. The island's really pretty. Shame it's owned by one of the four most powerful beings that does villainy more than anything else. Ma. Everyone heard the sound of someone laughing before looking to the side and seeing a massive ominous figure. So you are Katakuri's little boy, huh? It's nice to meet my grandson for the first time. Then that means you must be his wife. Ma. So interesting to have you both finally on the island at long last. The woman's figure began to calm down and look as if she was genuinely happy. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Linlin Charlotte, but everyone calls me Big Mom. Wow, you're tall. Chako says looking up at the Titan woman. Will Izuku grow that tall? Many of the Charlotte family began freaking when Chako commented such a blunt comment. Perhaps. But it's all a matter of if he eats right and gets plenty of exercise. Ma. As they spoke, both Izuku and Katakuri looked at Big Mom and themselves, wondering if they would before seeing each other and turning away. You don't talk too much, do you Izuku? It's okay, your grandma just wants to hear you speak. Izuku wasn't desiring to reply to her with Izawa walking up. It's a pleasure to meet you ma'am. My apologies if Midoriya is not responsive today. He had recently suffered severe injuries due to the world government's actions and is still somewhat groggy from recovering. I heard. Her image went back towards a menacing one. Akano. The second I find you, I will steal your soul and turn you into one of my homies. The guy's a dick, but that's a bit much. Chako comments. Nonsense my dear, he injured my grandson so he should pay dearly for it. Big Mom looked over to see Mr. and Mrs. Uraka to smile. So you two are the construction workers that do work for my people. Your factories you make give us delicious candies and treats. They smell just as delicious when we have to demolish them. Ma. This reply was somewhat scared the couple. Oh, well at least we are making you happy. Realizing the time, Big Mom began walking in a direction. Come along. The tea party is about to start. As she left, the sound of an accordion was heard with her singing while walking. Each step she took caused them to bounce off the ground as she skipped away with each bounce growing smaller as she got further away. Word of advice to survive with Mama today. Do not say anything to anger her and appease to her simple desires. You try anything to anger her and you won't live long to regret it. Burlee pointed this out as she led the group towards where the tea party was. As they walked, Chako noticed several plants and such with faces on them singing and dancing. What's up with all these plants having faces? They're from Mama's power. She creates inanimate living objects that do her every whim called homies. They're made from the lifespan taken from people she kills or steals their vitality from with her soul fruit. Ichako didn't press any further, hearing this, as they walked to the center of the island in a city. There, they went towards a giant castle with the gates open. The group went in and followed stairs up towards a large area, with every member of the Charlotte family and some hired help of theirs in attendance. "Welcome all to today's tea party," Big Mom shouted with satisfaction before pointing towards Izuku and the group. "Today is cause for celebration as always, but today's celebration is even more since today we announce our newest additions. Izuku and Inko Midoriya." The gigantic group of people cheered as the pirate kept going. "This is also a day where we announce the engagement to Izuku and the daughter of the Urakas, as well as Smoothie becoming engaged to Shota Izawa with the underground her Eraserhead. Eat your fill and then eat some more." The party began going frantic with a large amount of music playing, as well as several unique sweets coming out to serve to everyone. "Wow. Everything looks so good. I don't know what to try first. Mama. I like a lady that knows good tasting sweets when she sees them." Big Mom sat near the front of the table with Izuku's group sitting right next to her. "I suggest trying the pudding first. It's made from an island that has the richest milk you'll ever have prepared with the cane sugar from another great island." "That sounds amazing." Ichako took a bite of the pudding for her entire face to light up. "Yummy. Midoriya. You gotta try this. I'm kinda not so into letting people see my face. Try it, please." Seeing Ichako give pleading eyes, Izuku gave a deep sigh before accepting the offer to eat it. He unzipped his mask to have his mouth seen slightly as he tried the pudding. "It is really good. Eat up. Eat till you can't eat anymore." Looking at the group, Izuku and Ichako noticed that they were relatively happy and merry with little to any problems. "I just love these peaceful days. They remind me of the old ones when I was part of the Rocks Pirates." "Oh yeah, you were part of the pirate crew beside Pops and Kaido if I remember correctly. What was it like being allies with them?" Everyone held their breath while Big Mom gritted her teeth. "I hated being part of that filthy crew. Nobody understood my desire for being part of an amazing new world, and I'd rather see all those bastards dead in a ditch." She slammed her hand on the table before grabbing several sweets and eating them. "Still angers me that Whitebeard got to you before me. But, I have you in my territory now to give you an offer, Izuku. One that I doubt you'd be willing to give up." "And what might that be?" Mama. "As you know, I'm getting up there in years and I can't do this job forever. So in 2 years' time, I want you to marry Ichako here and continue my legacy as the new captain of the Big Mom Pirates." Everyone's eyes began to pop out of their skull as their mouths went wide hearing this statement. "What? Mama? Giving the offer to your grandson is a very generous offer, but why not give it to someone of the Big Mom Pirates already? Parasparrow. Are you judging your mama's judgment?" The smile on Big Mom disappeared when she heard her son's question. "Then no, Mama. I would never judge your judgment." Then it settled. "How about it, Izuku? How would you like to be the next Yanko after I give up my title?" Mama. Izuku remained silent as he thought of the idea. However, no matter how much he thought of it, it made him sick thinking about it. Before he could answer, an explosion was heard for the family to notice a bunch of Marines attacking. "Burn everything, men. Destroy whole Cake Island if you have to. Damned Marines. Of course they'd try to attack us here when we're in one place." Several members of the Charlotte family began to get up before the feeling of a menacing aura was felt. Looking to the source, everyone saw Big Mom ready to kill whoever got in her way. "The Marines think they can interrupt my tea party and get away with it. Zeus. Prometheus." The large woman grabbed a cloud and a sun that had faces on them before walking towards the shore where the battleships were. "Now the tea will get cold because people like you are interrupting my favorite time of the day. Everyone get back. Mama's about to rampage." Smoothie tried to pull everyone back with Izuku remaining in place watching her start storming for the shore. "Midoriya. Get away now." Izawa shouted and attempted to go for him before seeing the larger teen jump away and towards Big Mom. "Midoriya. Stop this now." Everyone looked to see Izuku go towards Big Mom to panic. Is he insane? Few minutes prior, Itsukapov. I started heading towards the auditorium to meet up with everyone in the group trying to help Midoriya with my classmates who wanted to help. As we did, we began a conversation about the Yankos. "So I heard red-haired Shanks is spending a little time in Japan. I wonder why. My best guess, the man might want a Japanese woman to make his empress." Satsuna started making a joke about this for Kanoko to join in. "Then maybe I should give him a call up. I'm sure he'd love my little mushrooms to brighten his nights popping up everywhere." "Oh please. He'd want a woman, not a little girl like you." Our green-haired classmate struck a pose while emphasizing a point. "And if he wants a woman, I'm more than happy to be that woman and show him a time he'll never forget." "In what way? Scaring him by how fat your butt is?" The two started an argument before we noticed Pony looking a bit down. You okay, Pony? We're not causing problems, right? It's not that Tetsu. It's Kaido. We stopped immediately after Pony mentioned the King of Beasts. He's coming to Japan. So all 4 Yankos will be in Japan at the same time. Ryuko panicked a bit with the rest of us not being far behind. Why yeah. She seemed to be really down by this. I mean, having a mutation quirk was why she was ridiculed in America. But she seemed more off that I couldn't put my finger on why. Maybe there's more to this than I think. Why are you following us? The sound of Todoroki snapped me back to reality to see him and Iida walking towards the auditorium with Yaoyorozu behind. If you both are monitoring the villain, then I have a right to just as much being class rep. Not like you've helped Midoriya at all. The only thing you've done to him is harm him, ridicule him, and treat him like he should die. While we are on that topic, Yaoyorozu, why do you hate Midoriya so much? I've questioned that too. To be fair, I wanted to know as well. Todoroki glanced over to notice us. Hello, Kendo. Hey, Todoroki. We began walking together while Yaoyorozu kept being asked by her classmate why exactly her hatred for Midoriya happened. I do not see the reason why you'd go after Midoriya when he's done nothing to instigate it. He's going to be a villain that harms people for no reason if he joins his family. He's most likely going to follow in their footsteps, so why is that a problem? Up until now, he's done nothing to make us believe he's even going to join the Charlotte family. He's fought Katakuri to the point of almost death 2 times already, and neither time has he shown any interest in being part of the group. I personally think you're letting your own belief that he will be part of the Charlotte family cloud your judgment. Todoroki pointed this out with all of us agreeing. Have you not seen the amount of destruction that the Charlotte family have caused? The chances are, those who aren't part of the group yet will become part of it soon. Yaoyorozu, I respect your thought and actually believe that the possibility is higher for Midoriya to be part of the Charlotte family. However, I still hold out belief that Midoriya will not, because I've seen his resolve more than once and you've seen his resolve for years. If you need more assistance in this, then I do not know what to say. Pony walked directly to Yaoyorozu and glared her in the eyes. Judging one for something they had absolutely no say in is ridiculous. I come from a place where even if you aren't part of Kaido's group, you would be judged if you have an animal-based quirk. I came to Japan to escape that and at least make something of myself before returning to take down Kaido, not to hear a woman that chooses to argue what isn't factual is going to happen. She started shouting the next bit in English for none of us to understand her, but from what it sounded like, I think Pony called Yaoyorozu a bitch. Well, that didn't sound promising. Vlad King spoke up for us to turn to him. The group came to Whole Cake Island. Let's start piling in and watch. We walked in with the white-beard pirates, the red-haired pirates, and for some reason, Jinbei of the Warlords to be there. Hold it. Why the hell is he here? I spoke up, remembering what he did to Midoriya. If this is him reporting back to Akeno, I want to give a bit for the record that I have not come here in response to Akeno. I have come to see the true resolve of Izuku Midoriya and make amends with him. He speaks the truth, kid. Whitebeard defended Jinbei for us to listen. Me and Jinbei go back. I actually helped defend Fisherman Island from surface dwellers who want to kidnap the mermaid and fishermen and sell them on the slave market. From what I know of him, he's a respecting man and would earnestly be sorry if he found out he was wrong. He even offered to have me hit him if that would make a difference for striking one of my sons. The fact Whitebeard was okay with Jinbei being here was enough to make me not question it much, but I was still somewhat against it cause of him being part of the group that almost killed our friend. The tea party's starting. We all remained quiet and watched as the majority of it was somewhat calm and merry. However, the comment about Midoriya succeeding Big Mom was a bit unnerving for us to have happen. Watch him show his true colors now. The second he joins the Charlotte family and takes over the rings of the Big Mom pirates, it's going to be undeniable proof he's no better than them. Why don't you just shut up and make sure you're not the one that's wrong, Yaoyorozu? Pony spoke up to seem even more angry today than she normally would be. Just what is going on with her today? All of a sudden, a massive amount of marine ships came out of nowhere in the distance for Big Mom to start going on a rampage. Midoriya. Get away now. We turned to a camera on your rocket to show Midoriya jumping off the building they were on and towards Big Mom. Is he insane? For once, I agree with the Charlotte family as a whole. Third person Pav. Keep firing, men. Don't stop until you see the island burned into the sea. A Marine Vice Admiral shouted while his crewmen and several battleships began firing non-stop at Whole Cake Island. As they did, one began to notice something disturbing. Sir. Big Mom is heading our way. All men, fire at Big Mom. Take her down. Every battleship aimed at the gigantic woman with them firing all at once. The area around where Big Mom stood was covered in smoke with a constant blast of cannon fire, making it even more obscured. Keep firing. Do not give her an inch. Izuku came over right when the smoke covered about a mile radius of its location before it finally stopped from the Marines no longer firing. That's not enough. She's not down yet. Izuku thought this before a giant figure flew out of the smoke wielding a giant blade. This was Big Mom riding on top of Zeus with a blade that held a face on it in her hands, as well as Prometheus acting as a flame on her hair. Sir. Big Mom isn't down yet. Tell the men to fire at her now. It's too late. She's too close to do anything about her now. Big Mom came barreling down to destroy a ship by stomping on it and cracking it in half. How dare you all interrupt my special tea party. I will kill you all. In a blind rage, the Charlotte grabbed one of the halves of the ship to destroy another, while allowing Zeus and Prometheus to destroy a few themselves. In a matter of only 5 minutes, the fatality rate was 15 battleships, 40 captains, 2 vice admirals, and hundreds of crewmen aboard. Sir. We need to retreat. I will not retreat from this woman. The Marine pulled his sword out and walked to the front of the ship. Big Mom. I shall end you right here and now. Hearing this, the gigantic woman looked over and directly down at the man with nothing but murderous intent in her glare. You're the one that is leading this, aren't you? The man began to panic with a strange image of SF steam coming off of him by Big Mom's perceptive. She moved her arm back, extending out her hand before grabbing a hold of it and ripping the strange thing out of the vice admiral. Sir. The crewman tried to help him, but he was already dead by the time he hit the ground. Don't think you'll be spared. Your punishment is far more beneficial than his. Now die. One slash from Big Mom's blade split the ship in two and caused all the men on board to drown. Those in the monitor area couldn't believe what they were seeing. In almost no time, they watched as a single woman took down enough Marine ships that would need to be taken down by a trained small army and come back remotely unscathed. This woman is insane. Kendo watched in horror while this occurred. I think Big Mom isn't the strongest. What hope do we have against a woman like that? This is what facing a Yanko means. An unstoppable force that almost nobody would stop. Don't you all see, this is the power of the group that Midoriya is part of. Yayoi Rozu spoke with nobody debating her right now. As the madness from Big Mom continued, she began grabbing pieces of the ships that were damaged to start throwing them across Whole Cake Island. On the tip of one of the damaged ship's figurehead, Izuku stood staring at her. I think you've done enough damage, Big Mom. If you keep this up, your island is going to be destroyed. She turned to Izuku and in a blind rage, could not tell who he was. You'll all pay for disrupting my tea party. She began to pull her arm back with the members of the tea party coming down to see the ordeal. Izuku? Don't. Pudding shouted in fear as Izuku jumped up into the air towards Big Mom's eye level. He's not gonna do what I think he is he? Hound Dog asked while the group watching the camera feed watched. Izuku's arm twisted while being brought back as far as he could with his armament hockey active. Machi. He's gonna do it. Tetsu shouted in fear. This can't end well. Broly panicked while Katakuri tried to run up and stop his son. In one go, Izuku's fist spiraled while charging back at Big Mom. When her hand was close to the green-haired teen though, her look of anger became one of shock before having his fist go right into her left cheek. Rifle. The force of the hit gave wind pressure to make the Charlotte family and their guests feel wind pressure from the hit. As Big Mom fell back into the water, everyone watching began to have their mouths go wide with their eyes popping out of their heads at what they just witnessed. Did he just punch Big Mom? Mama. Standing on top of her, Big Mom regains her senses to glare down at Izuku. Why couldn't I take your soul? I don't get it. Because. I don't fear death. Everyone became serious again after hearing this. I have fought and crawled my way to where I am today when it would be far easier to go another route. The only reason I agreed to go the route I have gone is because it helps me achieve the final goal I wish to accomplish. I've made peace with it a long time ago that I will most likely die from this, so your devil fruit will never work on me, for I accept death as the inevitability of what will happen. Those who witnessed this saw Izuku stand tall atop Big Mom as she slowly smiled. You truly remind me of that crazed pirate Gold D. Roger, Izuku. He was willing to go through hell just to achieve what he wanted to. Ma. In the auditorium, nobody could believe how calm and level-headed Big Mom was after this, with Shanks and Whitebeard smiling. He really does remind me of Roger when he was around. I'll admit, being under him was by far the best thing that could have happened to me. Helped me get put on the right track. Shanks smiled at this before Ryukyu and Ace got a call about a possible sighting of Teach. Few hours later, Izuku Pov. After Big Mom settled down, the rest of the tea party went relatively well. Minimal damage to Whole Cake Island happened by Big Mom, and the guests were able to enjoy themselves a bit more. Finally, we were leaving the island and returning to Japan. It was great seeing the two of you. I hope to meet you both in future parties. Big Mom started laughing while me and Mom felt a bit uneasy. If you wish, we'll try and make some. but I'm not certain we can make them all. Understandable. Mom began to board with Big Mom stopping me for a minute. Izuku. You never gave me your answer from before about being the next leader of the Big Mom pirates. I gritted my teeth hoping to avoid angering her after what we've seen. Give it some time. I can still go for quite a while and I'm in no rush. Thank you for understanding. I bowed before moving towards the ship and sitting beside Uraraka. The ship began to leave with the island becoming a speck in the distance. Yawn, that was a nice party, but I'm tired. Uraraka began using my arm as a pillow with her quickly falling asleep hugging it. Oh. Pudding, Mom and Broly looked at the scene and smiled. Of course this is happening to me. I looked at Uraraka's happy face to see she was content with me to feel kinda happy I have someone like her as a friend. It's rare to see someone treat our family with such high ease that they're willing to sleep on our arm. Try to keep this one Izuku. I ignored Katakuri and focused on making sure Ichako was alright where she was. I did though take one thing he said to consideration. I need to tell her I care for her more than a friend. So this one is gonna be more about Momo and why she's kinda a bitch in this. Before anyone says anything, growing up around something will make someone believe what they grow up around is true and have difficulties accepting if what they are told is a lie or not true. Such as if you think specific people are bad or good. Since a child doesn't know better, they believe this is accurate, such as the case here. Anyways, on with the story. Flashback 9 years ago, Momopov. Justice. It's a word people use a lot. A word that defines what is right and true as well as what you should fight against. But what happens if someone misinterprets justice? What if the morals you hold of justice doesn't match the morals of another's? Whose morals are right and whose is wrong? In this aspect, would both be right or would both be wrong? I stood in front of a burning home as I watched a fire my uncle and I set ablaze burn down the Midoriya residence during the evening. As we did, I noticed two green eyes glare at me from a distance away. Why are you looking at me like that? This is justice, like my uncle said. The glare was not of anger or grief, but one that showed empathy. Almost as if the owner of the eyes felt pity for me. It's not my fault, this had to be done. This is justice. Back to present. So, what did you want to talk about? I sat in a chair across from Mr. Aizawa in the middle of a classroom while explaining. Yes, sir. Up until now, I haven't judged what my justice had me do. However, time and time again has this been shown to be argued with from my fellow peers as well as the teachers. Since the incident a few days ago in Whole Cake Island, I've been having Midoriya's words echo in my head constantly on his path and why he doesn't choose it, because it's easier or anything in regards to his family. So what about it? What is right in this situation? Seriously? Is that all you can say? I can't tell anymore what's right and wrong. From what I've learned is right, Midoriya should have never been allowed to enroll in this school. But he's not only able to, he's looked at as a prodigy. Wanted by every Yanko, good and bad, the number 9 pro hero respects him. All Might even seems to respect him. Meanwhile, I'm looked at as wrong for thinking he's a villain as well as criticized for wanting to act on my justice. My teacher began to sigh before giving me his opinion. You're going off of Akaino's justice, aren't you? Yes. Can't exactly blame you as heavily having a man like that tell you what justice is. Alright. That man's form of justice is hypocritical. It's wah. Let me finish. I stopped for Mr. Aizawa to continue. In Akaino's eyes, any evil you do as long as it's in the name of justice is right. This thinking is not only wrong but also dangerous in this time and age. His case doesn't help that he has a lot of swing with the Marines. What do you mean? Mr. Aizawa tossed me a newspaper about the day Midoriya was attacked by the 7 warlords. Marines targeted. Due to an undercover attack by the 7 warlords on an agent of the Big Mom pirates inside the Whitebeard pirates, Fleet Admiral Akaino had faced an attack by Sweet Commander Katakuri Charlotte. Thanks to reports made by the Marines, they had tracked the spy in hopes to stop Big Mom from controlling Japan. Thanks to the control over the media, Midoriya is looked at as a monster when this camera footage by a nearby security camera says otherwise. He began showing me on his phone an attack that had started by the warlords attacking Midoriya. Each tried to kill him with the Charlotte not fighting back. There's a secret investigation into the Marines and the warlords happening right now. With this evidence and the audio, we have enough to warrant it. Thanks to Jinbei as well, we were able to point out your uncle gave the order. Unfortunately, the world won't hear this and still see Midoriya as the villain when he was a victim in this. I could only watch in disgust as the justice I had seen and learned growing up was keeping something like this from being known to the world. This is wrong. Sad part is, the world will refuse to see this as wrong because of how Midoriya is related to Katakuri. I couldn't stand watching this anymore to shut the phone off. Disgusting, isn't it? So, does this mean all my life I've been wrong with what justice is? Depends. I couldn't stand dealing with this mindset anymore to begin panicking about what my life's been. You've probably been asked this a million times by now, but why do you hate Midoriya so much? I looked up to the ceiling before replying. If I say I committed a crime as a child, a serious crime with intent for murder, would you hold it against me or charge me for it? Is it deemed a misdemeanor by the Marines? Sorta something different entirely, but yeah. I feel like I have to confess to it, even if it costs me my place in UA, after everything that's been happening. Well, if it's covered up by the Marines, it really won't make a difference if you do. I began thinking back to my childhood to when I could remember. Flashback 11 years ago. Ever since I could remember, my uncle would show me what the world would hold as evil. I would regularly come along with him on assignments in order for me to know what side I should fight for. Since this was a command from an admiral at the time, my parents had little say in this. To me though, I only saw my uncle doing what he knew was right. However, one day when I came home from school, he stood at the entrance of my home waiting for me. "Momo. I have a job you may want to look into." He handed me a picture of Midoriya, who I knew was my classmate. The boy in the picture is part of the Charlotte family. You remember what I said about them, right? They're monsters that don't follow any rules and hurt good people. Good. Now this kid, he's a Charlotte. He's the son of Katakuri, one of the most powerful Charlotte family members. What do you want me to do? He knelt down to my face and gave me a serious look. Make him crack. Show the world who he really is. When he's revealed to be a monster, we'll both handle the rest. Not knowing what he meant, I obeyed my uncle, thinking I was doing right by what he deems justice. The next day, I began to bully Midoriya. I spread the rumor that he was the son of Katakuri for the school to turn on him. In a matter of days, he went from a student with no threats to everyone to the most hated boy in the school. Since this was the reality, I was able to deal with taunting him with ease. However, I couldn't break him. Even when I made the gash from ear to ear for his jawline, I couldn't get him to crack. The closest I did was this one night. So why are we bringing these things of gas to this house? This is the home to that kid Midoriya. We're going to strike a blow to the Charlottes by killing him and his whore mother before they could even tell what's happening. It felt wrong for a minute thinking about it. Isn't this arson? And isn't this illegal? Momo. The world is not as black and white as you think it is. We as protectors of the law and justice need to show the world who is the enemy and why taking them down is important. When this is over, you won't have any charges on you and you'll be looked at as a hero. Don't you want to be a hero? Hearing this, I felt elated at the fact I could do something to be a hero. I began dumping the gasoline in the area I was told before returning to the entrance to the property. Now what? I asked while seeing my uncle light a cigar. Now we show the world what these monsters deserve. He used the lighter to light the gasoline and send the house ablaze in a matter of seconds. Everything began to burn. The house, the inside, not even the bushes around were safe from the fire. Thinking this was right, I smiled, thinking my compliment was right. This was when I think I realized something was off or not right in a way. To the side, I noticed Katakuri standing with Mrs. Midoriya and their son safe and out of the fire. What caught me in anger the most wasn't the fact they were alive, but Midoriya's eyes. They glared at me not in anger or sadness, but in disappointment, as if he was disgusted that we had done this. Why are you staring at me like that? This is what you deserve. You're the son of a villain, so you're a villain. No matter how much he looked at me, it angered me to no end that he wanted to give me a look of disappointment. Stop giving me that look. Back to present. So you willingly admit to burning down the Midoriya residence? I nodded. Was there any form of charges made for this, or was it covered up? The next day, a newspaper article said that there was a villain attack with my uncle and the current fleet admiral at the time Sengoku backing this. My parents though knew differently to forbid my uncle from having significant time spent with me after this. But damage was already done for Midoriya. Irreversible damage. Mr. Izawa breathed in deeply before replying. If this wasn't covered up by the Marines, as well as there no longer being evidence, I would not only expel you right now, but also have you arrested for arson. I know. He continued to stare at me with disgust. I'm not happy with finding out what you said. Right now, I want to expel you for finding this out as is. But if I did, that would jeopardize the investigation into the Marines. I kept my head down, knowing expulsion was avoided only because it would cause a problem for an ongoing investigation. I do see promise as a hero in you. But being a hero takes more than just talent and skill. You need to work at it and sometimes do things you're not proud of. As example, admitting to a crime you committed and be willing to face the punishment. What do you want me to do from here, sir? He thought about it before giving his verdict. For now, fly a straight flag. Make up for the wrong you did by doing right. Furthermore, don't get involved with arguments with Midoriya. He deserves to see the merit you want to give more than anyone. Also, do not give any of this information to your uncle that you disclose this. We're already on edge with the Marines because of the Warlord incident and they're having difficulties due to the Big Mom failed attack. This might bring the stability that's still in the society to a teeter point. Yes, sir. I had gotten up to walk out and head back to the dorms. As I did, I noticed Todoroki reading a book on a bench outside about human anatomy. Didn't take you for a medical bookworm. It's so I can use the op fruit better. To use it to the best of its ability, I need knowledge. That is how I heard the op fruit works. Only surgeons have the ability to use it to the best of its abilities. Todoroki shut his book before staring directly at me. What did you stay after class for? I talked to Mr. Izawa to avoid some problems in the future, as well as give some ahem insight on where things went wrong with me and Midoriya. Things were right once. Alright, I deserved that at least a little. I sat on the bench trying to wrap my head around everything that's been happening. Hey Todoroki. If you had been told for most of your life what is right and wrong by someone's standards, and then later discovered that that way of thinking is wrong and dangerous, would you be able to accept that? He thought about this for a minute before answering. Immediately, no. The problem with growth and acceptance is it takes time. Nobody is able to give an immediate change like this, that's why most change happens slowly. Any immediate change will be sloppy at best and will be very flawed. In this situation, you can't just change your way of thinking. It's engraved in your head. Depending how deep it is engraved, it can sometimes be impossible. But the first step to change is acknowledging it's wrong in this case. After, it's a matter of changing slowly so you don't overwhelm yourself. I guess then I have a way before I can accept change then. I said this under my breath with it apparently being loud enough for Todoroki to hear. Don't be so disappointed. Change is already happening if you want to change for the better. The problem is just making sure you keep at the change since it's a daily effort from my experience. Just keep trying to do what you think you should for the change and eventually you'll get better. Right. We continued to sit down and talk before the sound of what we believed metal hitting metal was heard. The heck is that? Midoriya and Kendo are training. From what I'm told, both have learned armament hockey and are trying to get stronger so they can fight on par with Katakuri and the other Charlotte family members. They're constantly training daily with it. He opened his book again to the page he left off before saying who else is training. I also heard that HAIRED of the Big Three is helping your Raka and some of Class B learn how to use observation hockey. Come to think of it, I should probably learn how to use hockey myself if I want to keep up. If you want, I can help teach you or ask Sengoku if he could help out here. He's retired, so I don't think he'd be against helping the next generation of heroes. Maybe learning from a former fleet admiral will help. Thanks for the offer. We continued to sit on the bench while I thought where to go from here. As I did, I noticed Tsunatori walking with a strange fruit that looked like a devil fruit. Todoroki. Is that what I think it is? He looked up to see the fruit. It is. But where did Tsunatori get it? Izuku Pav. Alright. Let's end it here. I tossed Kendo a towel from the side to help wipe the sweat off her, while noticing Heido with a training stick get a good smack on Tokijin. Ow. I think you actually drew blood that time. You gotta focus. To the side, I could see Uraraka, Komori and Tetsutetsu with similar bumps on their heads. Heido. Let's end it here for today. She agreed for everyone to start moving towards the dorms. How's practice handling with all of you? My head hurts, Shroom. How am I getting hurt? I can take pieces of me off and avoid this. That's armament hockey for you. Even when you can evade normal attacks, it hurts like a bitch. I held my head remembering the amount of lumps I've had in the past from this. To the side, I began to see Tsunatori walking by looking like someone stepped on her dog or something. Apparently I wasn't the only one to see it since Kendo ran over. Hey pony. Did you get what you had to get done in town finished? She glanced up at us with what looked like the eyes of a dead woman before smiling. Why yeah. I did. She placed the fruit she had inside a bag she had before walking beside us. Hey pony, you okay? You look like you're about to cry. Tetsutetsu asked for the horn girl to stare at me. Hey Midoriya, can I get your opinion on something? Depends on what it is. She definitely seemed out of it a bit for us to approach the one at dorms. How about we make a little tea or something and talk? I think we'd all appreciate that after training. We walked in with Kendo following me into the kitchen to make some tea. As this happened, I could tell she was really worried for her friend. The tea finished brewing in about a few minutes to bring the kettle out and some cups. When we had it poured, I sat across from Tsunatori while everyone sat on the larger sofa to the side of us. Now. What did you want an opinion on? She remained silent for a minute before pulling the fruit out again. I want your opinion on where I should go from here. And by here you mean? She breathed in a bit before saying something rather significant. I lied to you all. You see, I'm the same as Midoriya in a lot more ways than just understanding where I was hypocritical. You see, I'm connected to Kaido. So you're part of his faction? No. Absolutely not. The thought of that alone makes me. Relax. I was asking because you keep beating around the bush. So what is it really? I guess I should come out with it. I'm the daughter of Kaido, king of beasts. Uraraka immediately spat her tea out hearing this as well as everyone else when they realized what they heard from their classmate. Huh. Guess that makes sense why you were really pissed at yourself for how you treated me. I calmly drank my tea through the opening in my scarf for everyone to freak at me. How are you calm right now? There's more to this story, isn't there? Tsunatori nodded. Let's start at the beginning with how you were born. Pony took a deep breath before starting. I guess this tale starts about 25 years ago. When America was not under Kaido's rule, the country was protected by a hero by the name of Odin. A master samurai who had close ties to powerful allies. He ran the agency known as Wano. I've heard of Odin, he was the former 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeards before Ace a long time ago. Yes. With his protection, America was safe from villainy. Unfortunately, Kaido reared his head at the country and plunged it into chaos under his tyranny. The only people who had any chance against Kaido and the beast pirates he governed were the samurai of the Wano agency. Unfortunately, the country paid the price for this stalemate. The people would be caught in the crossfire, many pros would die because of the horrors of this war between the two factions, and thus, forced sides to be chosen. I could see Tsunatori enraged at this to grip her knees in anger. My mother. She held a lot of debt before Kaido's rule. Eventually, she was given the opportunity to pay it off in full in exchange for being sold to the beast pirates. She was their servant and had offered her services to the all-stars in Kaido. So basically your mother was sold to them as a prostitute. Midoriya. Uraraka shouted at me in annoyance. What? I'm not wrong. She was. But one day, she couldn't take it anymore and ran away. When she did, she was able to find comfort in the Wano agency who helped prisoners like her. But she held something that even she didn't know at the time inside her. Me. To make a long story short, I was born 9 months later with my mother giving her life to bring me into this world. Odin, when he heard of this, willingly took the responsibility of raising me into his hands. For 5 years, I was told by him and his wife Toki that my mother was a strong woman who refused to let anything keep her down. I believed this until. She stopped for a second before answering. Kaido and Odin had their final clash. Did he kill your adopted father? Sniffle yes. But it wasn't in battle. To set an example, Odin was forced to boil in a cauldron of water until he finally died from the heat of the water. That day, my life spiraled from bad to worse in a matter of days. Flashback 10 years ago, Pony Pav. Treated as a criminal, Odin was bound with chains and walked to his execution platform. There, Kaido sat with the injury over his side that Odin was able to inflict during his battle still upon him. Without hesitation, the man I admired as a fatherly figure hopped into the boiling cauldron himself prepared to face his death without fear. He stood there for what felt like an eternity to me, clearly feeling all the pain as his lower half was submerged and glaring the Yanko down, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing him writhe in pain. Hurry up and finish him. An aggressive man who hated Odin and sided with Kaido called Kurozumi Arachi watched beside Kaido, wanting to smear in his face the fact he was about to die. In his final moments, Kaido held some form of mercy for his enemy, ready to kill him with a bullet instead of a slow and painful death. In Odin's eyes though, he would not care how he met his end. To him, if people were to share a drink together and remember him, he'd be happy. His final words to us were the way he lived. Strong and determined to face anything, smiling. Odin wouldn't be Odin if the sound of a gun went off for him to fall back into the cauldron with a smile. Everyone in watch shouted with tears his final phrase before weeping in tears. It wasn't boiled. All I could do in this moment was fall to my knees, bawling my eyes out. The man I loved as a father was shot down in front of me, while that imbecile traitor to Odin, Arachi, laughed and felt satisfaction with his end. I'll never forgive you. I will never forgive you, Kaido. The next few days for me were a bit hazy as all I could do was sob silently to myself. All hell had broken loose at this point, as my adopted mother was shot down shortly after, and the home I grew up in with my step-siblings was turned to ash. The most vivid memory after, however, was a talk a samurai known as Kinemon and Kanjuro had thinking they were alone. Few days later. Are you quite certain of these findings, Kanjuro? I am. I feel so horrible for Pony. Not only was her mother, Lady Tsunatori, taken from her as well as Lord Odin and Lady Toki, but now. We have this news. I came out struggling to stand from not being able to do anything for so long after the execution to spook both of them. Ms. Pony. I apologize if we had disturbed you. You didn't, Mr. Kine. I saw the papers in Kanjuro's hands to ask him about them. Kanju, what do you feel bad for me for? Did something happen to Mom and Izuku and Hiyori? No. They are fine. Kinnaman tried to find the words to explain. Pony, do you know about your father? Father Odin? No. Your real father? I shook my head no for him to explain. You see, your mother was part of the Beast Pirates before coming here and giving us you in exchange for her life. Sadly, she took the truth of who's your father with her to the afterlife. Because of this, we have been secretly trying to discover his identity, so you may learn of it later in life. But after Lord Odin's battle, we regretfully have discovered his identity. Boo. Both looked at each other before Kanjuro told me the truth. Ms. Pony. We have discovered that your father is none other than the leader of the Beast Pirates. Regrettably, that means you are the daughter of Kaido, the man that took your adopted father's life. I couldn't believe what I heard. My real father was the man that killed my adopted one. Not only that, but it was most likely him that wanted the death of my adopted mother to happen. I felt sick to my stomach and only wanted to curl up in a ball and die somewhere. However, I knew that wouldn't change anything. I want to be strong like Lord Odin. I looked up at both Kinnaman and Kanjuro with pleading eyes. Please teach me to fight so I can stop Kaido. I have to be the one to stop him. Back to present, Izuku Pav. So you had resolved at this point to stop Kaido? Yes. I knew that it was most likely impossible, but I had to do it. As such, the samurai of Wano agreed to train me on the condition that when I was old enough, I would go to another country to get stronger and hopefully make ties strong enough like my adopted father had done. Okay. But that doesn't explain the devil fruit. Tokage pointed out for Pony to continue her story. The other day, I got a text message from an anonymous number telling me to go to an abandoned warehouse. This was where I finally met my father face to face. Few hours ago, Pony Pav. So you are Yuma Tsunatori's daughter. Hard to believe my source was correct. Especially knowing about you. He glared down at me with the pavement beneath us severely damaged. My apologies for the damage. I was trying a pastime of mine. You see, I regularly practice killing myself. Wait, did he just say he tried to kill himself? So what did you wish to talk about? I am assuming that you're the reason I got a contact about meeting someone here today. He reached into his clothing to pull out a devil fruit. Here. He handed it to me while continuing. You see, after finding out Big Mom has a powerful ally on her side to take her mantle from the sports festival, as well as he could possibly claim Whitebeard's mantle, it got me thinking. I'm not that much younger, and I need to plan for the future. As such, I want you to become next in line to lead the Beast Pirates. You want me to lead your crew? Not off the bat, of course. When you graduate, I'd like you to join the Beast Pirates when you return to America. That fruit will give you the chance to join my 3 top men as part of my All-Stars. It's an ancient zone fruit called the Dragon fruit. Allosaurus model, you will become one of the most powerful beasts to ever walk this planet. Fitting for the next queen of beasts if I do say so myself. Ahahaha. I couldn't stand it. The man that murdered Odin was standing right in front of me offering me to claim his mantle. Kaido. I'll lend you the second I return from this country. Back to present, Izuku Pav. So. That's where I am right now. I sat up in my seat before asking a bit more into this. So what exactly do you want advice for? You still haven't made that answer clear yet. So I want to ask 2 things of you. First, I want your opinion on if I should eat this fruit or not. This was given to me by the man that I want to stop. The man that killed the man and woman I loved as a real family. I feel like I'm betraying them if I take this, but I also know I'm not strong enough without it. What would you do? I thought about it for a moment before asking about a resolve. How far are you willing to go to stop Kaido? I will do anything to end his reign. Even die? Yes. I smiled under my mask before giving my answer. Eat it. If you want to get strong enough to stop him, then eat it. I'm sure Momonosuke and Hiyori would rather their adopted sister be alive, so don't make them grieve more than they already have for their father and mother. She understood to stare at the fruit before taking a bite out of it. Tsunatori immediately gave a face of disgust with her mouth full before swallowing it and continuing until the fruit was finished. Alright. Now what's the second? Tsunatori chugged her tea before answering my question. I want to form an alliance with you. I'll help you defeat Big Mom in exchange for helping me defeat Kaido. Both of us have everything to gain if we help the other, and so does the world. She placed her hand out for me to shake it. Do we have a deal? I remained silent before moving my hand out to meet hers. Deal. Izuku Pav. After the alliance I made with Tsunatori, things progressively got better for the most part. Yayoi Rozu seemed to scowl at me less for some reason. One of the warlords were taken down by Ryukyu and Ace. Even most of the spite in the halls was taken off me. For me, this is almost worth a freaking celebration. Right now, we're sitting in class waiting for the teacher while I went through some information about Kaido and his crew from what Tsunatori gave me. The door to the classroom opened for Mr. Izawa to walk in looking strangely more tired than usual, if that was even possible. Alright class, yawned. Today we are going to talk about end of term exams. To make a long story short, they're next week, so just make sure you don't fail them. Mr. Izawa. Asui raised her hand for our teacher to look her way. You seem a little more tired than normal. Are you okay? Yeah. It's a personal reason that revolves around something I'm roped into. If you want more intel, ask Midoriya. I stopped for a moment to think about what he meant before it hit me. Smoothie. Anyway, the hero course has both a written and a physical exam. You're required to pass both if you wish to join a training camp we have during the summer. Wait, we're doing a training camp? Kaminari questioned for Izawa to go into a little more detail. The training camp we have set up is to help you all get ready for a provisional license exam. Those that pass this exam will be able to use their quirks without needing authorization first and offer real help as heroes. I'll go a little more into detail for the exam itself when we get closer. However, those that fail the end of term exam are going to be taking remedial lessons as this is going on and will not be able to join us. I thought about this and was somewhat curious about what our physical final was gonna be. I should ask the big three when I see them later what it is. Time skipped to lunch. I began to stand up, grabbing what I had before hearing Yaoi Rozu's voice. Midoriya. A word. I looked behind me to glare down at her. What do you want? I just wish to speak. We should do this somewhere a little more private if you don't mind. Wait. Momo's confessing to the villain Ishido jumped up in panic for myself, Uraraka and Yaoi Rozu to glare at her. What? I stand by what I said. First and foremost, I wouldn't feel anything towards this huge tit bimbo, even if she pulled her underwear down, lifted her skirt up, and told me to go to town on her. The hell did that come from? I ignored Jiru's shout to continue. Second of all, I already have a fiancé, and I have no desire to even date any of you. Third and foremost, you're not involved, so stay the hell out of other people's business, you demonic-looking Kirby. Hey. Just because I'm pink and my eyes are darkened like Kirby doesn't mean I eat everything in sight. I guess I can spare 5 minutes. Don't just ignore me when I defend myself from your insult. We walk out and start heading towards the roof, looking behind to make sure we weren't followed. Unfortunately, we were by Uraraka, Iida and Todoroki, who were kinda sucking and trying to be conspicuous. I ignored this since I mainly wanted to get the most recent bullcrap that would come out of the bitch's mouth out of the way. We got to the rooftop where nobody was around for me to lean up against. A metal pole for the fence over the ledge. So what is it this time that you have to say? She remained silent for a minute before starting. Look Midoriya, I know we don't see eye to eye really. More like it all would be the better term. She glared at me for a moment while stopping. Continue. Anyway. After the whole warlord incident, I think you at least. Deserve an apology from me. I stopped for a second to look her dead in the face while she says this. Ha 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 ha. You can't be serious. This coming from the bitch of all bitches, god that's funny. I continued to laugh at this for Yaoi Rozu to glare at me more angered. I'm serious. I want to apologize for what I've done in the past and start off with a clean slate with you. I kept laughing at this for it to now get her angry. Why are you treating my attempt to find common ground as something to insult? I slowed down before realizing she was serious. At this point, I felt a little pissed she's doing this to give her an answer. I'm laughing because until today, you had zero care for me and took any moment you had to take a shot at me. You never cared if it was petty as calling me a monster or lighting my fucking home on fire with me and my mom in the house. Do you honestly think I'm going to forgive you and we can be friends just like that? She held her mouth hearing this. What, did you honestly think giving a sappy apology about how you'll do better and how you were wrong would wash away the fact you nearly burned me and my mother alive, or the fact my face is permanently fucked up because of you? Don't you think I know that won't change anything? At least right now I'm trying to say I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it. Anyone can say they're sorry and don't mean it. Then give me a chance and not be so headstrong. I'm headstrong. Look who the hell's talking. I started to get petty a bit to begin walking away. Look. I don't hold a grudge for what you've done. However, I can never forgive or forget what you've done. What you did was inexcusable over the years, and giving an apology doesn't even begin to fix it. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to get lunch and find out what I can about the final exam to prepare for. I walked into the school with my temper still flaring to see Uraraka, Todoroki and Iida listening in. We weren't listening in. I swear I walked past Uraraka as she tried to defend her and our two classmates. Midoriya. If it makes any difference, I get why you can't forgive Yaoi Rozu. From what you said she did, I don't think I can either. But I think you should at least keep an open mind about her trying to make amends and try to get on even terms with you. A lot happened to make her question what she did. Maybe she really did want to try and start anew with you. I walked away after hearing this somewhat conflicted. This is a ploy. The second I let my guard down, that'll be when she shows her true colors. That's always been her nature growing up. Third person Pav. As the students cleared out of the area, Aizawa came out from the side listening to the entire thing. It's a starting point. Midoriya unfortunately needs to find a way to accept the fact Yaoi Rozu wants to help fix the mistakes she made. The question is, how? The teacher got up and walked towards Nezu's office explaining his opinion on the final exams. 2 weeks later. As the time leading up to the final exams became smaller and smaller, Class A had done what they needed to study for it. Most of Class A had studied together thanks to Yaoi Rozu offering to give a study session for those that are lagging in some areas. Meanwhile, Iida had suggested that Todoroki, Achako and Izuku should study together. This could help them get physically prepared for what they were facing in the physical aspect. Thanks to there being an open slot, Shinso was able to hop in as well for the final exam, as a way of this being his entrance exam in the hero course. Depending on how he did, he'd be accepted in. Thanks to some help from the Big Three and Kendo as well, Class A was also able to verify that they were facing robots in the final exam for most to be somewhat calm with this. However, both Izuku and Yaoi Rozu had a strange feeling something was going to be different with this exam due to how the year's been as opposed to previous. The day of the exam finally came with everyone in the class giving their all in the written exams. Pencils down. Aizawa spoke up for the last person in each row collecting the answer sheets. Put your hero suits on and meet me out front. The class did as their teacher instructed to change and meet him in the front of the school. There, they met Shinso who was wearing a capture scar similar to Aizawa's and goggles. Midoriya. How was the written part for you? And complain. Yourself. Same. When did the two of them get so chummy? Kaminari questioned before their teacher along with the staff came to meet them. Alright. I'm sure you're all wondering what's going on here. Aizawa mentioned for everyone to somewhat agree before Nezu coming out of his binding gear. The answer is quite simple really, I'm certain that all of you have found out from your upperclassmen, you will be facing robots today, similar to ones you have faced in the entrance exam. Heck yeah. We're so on top of this. Ashido and Kaminari cheered before their hopes were shot down. Well in reality, we thought that facing them would be far less challenging in this day and age, so we decided to revamp our final exams. As such, you students will be facing us the teachers. Most freaked hearing Nezu's remark before a man with black hair came walking up behind the faculty. Now, the teams have been set up and we have a special guest here today to help with one of your exams. Yaoi Rozu and Izuku looked directly at the former fleet admiral and froze. Oh shit. Oh shit. Who's the geezer? Bakugo spoke up for Sengoku to have a clearly angered face on him. Geezer? Know your place young man. I even dyed my beard and hair to avoid someone calling me that. Big deal. Bakugo turned away before Sengoku came right to his face and punched the top of his head downwards, going head first into the cement and making a crater where the ash blonde stood. This geezer as you called me is still able to kick your ass. So watch your tongue kid. Everyone backed away seeing this for Aizawa to continue. Thanks to some special authorization, we were able to get the former fleet admiral of the Marines to help as of a means to help find common ground with them. Midoriya. Yaoi Rozu. He'll be facing the two of you. The tired teacher smirked saying this as both felt Sengoku place his hands on their shoulders. This is gonna be fun. Make sure you play nice with your elderly kiddos. Ahahaha. Izuku looked at Yaoi Rozu for a second thinking this was her doing for her to immediately shake her head no, saying she had no part in this decision. Alright. Let's get going with telling who will be facing who. Hiroshima and Sato vs Amentos. Asui and Tokoyami vs Ectoplasm. Bakugo and Shiro vs Aizawa. Todoroki and Shinso vs Hound Dog. Iida and Ajiro vs Powerloader. Uraraka and Aoyama vs 13. Kaminari and Ashido vs Nezu. Shoji and Hagakure vs Snipe. Giro and Koda vs Present Mick. Midoriya and Yaoi Rozu vs Sengoku. When the teams were set, everyone walked in the direction of the bus taking them to their destination. As Izuku and Yaoi Rozu sat waiting for them to get towards the testing area, Sengoku began talking with Izuku. So Midoriya, I heard you have been gaining quite the feats as a first year. You're quite a determined child. I guess. Izuku avoided small talk mainly due to his unease with the Marines, due to most of what's happened in the past and near present. You don't talk much, do you? Not to people that allow villainy to go unpunished. The former fleet admiral understood Izuku's anger to try and help ease the mood. Look Midoriya. I get your rage and allowing what Akeno and this ignorant girl did go unpunished was clearly bad on the Marines and my part. However, I have no ill will towards you just because you are a member of the Charlotte family. Wouldn't be the first time someone's held their disgust with me and pretended like they weren't. True. But not many have a power in this world that can literally crush you like an insect and would personally rather treating you with respect in a sense. He tried to respond back but stopped giving Sengoku that one. The bus stopped for the three to start heading off. When they did, Sengoku stood near the entrance while Yaoi Rozu and Izuku walked through and towards the center. Midoriya. We need to talk strategy on how to confront Sengoku. Izuku ignored Yaoi Rozu and continued walking to the center. Midoriya. He continued to ignore her with a bell ringing for them to start. Midoriya. Listen to me. Why should I? Until now, you've for the most part been spouting bullshit to me and given me no reason to trust anything you say. What makes now any different? Because we're working together to face someone not even my uncle could defeat. Do you honestly think you're strong enough to take him head on? Maybe I'd rather take him head on than deal with being paired with you. Ever think of that, bitch? There was a silence between them before a massive shockwave was sent towards them. It pushed the two back before seeing the city in the direction it came from leveled, and a giant golden man stood in front of them. It seems the two of you don't even understand the fundamentals of what true teamwork should be. In battle, petty squabbles like the ones you both have are irrelevant and should be cast aside if you are fighting alongside one another. That is something even the most novice of fighters learn on the battlefield. However, neither of you seem to accept this. Sad really. Sengoku pulled his punch back before sending a similar attack towards them that he did before. Impact wave. The two jumped away from the attack, with Izuku trying to figure out any weakness he could. Just what type of devil fruit did this guy eat? It's called the human fruit. Buddha model. A mythical's own type that turns the user into a giant golden Buddha. To be completely honest, nobody has ever been able to defeat Sengoku officially, and his power was able to match up against both Whitebeard and Gold Roger during their prime. Due to his power, skill and benevolence, he's obtained the nicknames of Sengoku the Buddha and the Resourceful General. How kind of you to remember some of my nicknames. Little that does for you now though. Sengoku sent another punch at the two, with both splitting up and forced Sengoku to focus his attention on Izuku. You truly are a spectacle boy. If you were a marine, you would easily rival a vice admiral and maybe even Kizaru and Ryakuji right now. But you will need far more than that in order to defeat me. Now show me what your resolve to defeat your family is, boy. Show me how you turn the tides of your lineage. Third person Pav. Machi Machi. Izuku pulled his arms back preparing to attack Sengoku as fast as he could. Gatling. He released attack after attack for the giant golden Buddha man to deflect them all with one hand. Is that the best you can do? I'm disappointed. Damn it. He's using Haki. The former fleet admiral came at Izuku with another attack for him to stretch his arm out down below and pull himself under the attack. Now, shink. Izuku reduced his body to a smaller portion to move faster and come directly up towards his enemy's leg to use them as running points. To prevent him from getting farther, Sengoku used his Haki to force Izuku off and be shot in the head with a cannon. Looking to the side, both noticed Yaoi Rozu loading up a cannon with cannonballs she created to send them directly at Sengoku, with it pushing him back. So she can make sea prism stone, huh? Not bad. Machi, Willow. Izuku attacked a second time in the air with his leg becoming several smaller forms of it to actually hit Sengoku this round and force him back. However, the marine was too smart for him to grab Izuku's legs and throw him into where Yaoi Rozu was for both to be sent back a distance. Damn that bastard. Izuku got back up preparing to go again before being stopped by Yaoi Rozu. Midoriya. We need to fight alongside one another. Save me your fucking BS. Give me one reason why I should even consider your offer outside of this being our final exam and it infringes on us passing. She couldn't speak up for Izuku to continue. I can list off a mountain of reasons why if taking a failing grade was an option, I'd willingly take it. You can't be serious that you'd willingly take a failing grade then work alongside me. Then give me a reason why I shouldn't. Up until now, you've done nothing but cause problems thinking I was a villain. You bullied me for years, burned down my house, and delivered this disgusting mug onto me, where I don't even like showing a Chaco and feel bad. She's stuck with this being her husband's face if the arranged marriage stays on. Most of that was my uncle's idea, not mine. Yet you went along with it like it wasn't a bad idea. You had years to determine if this was right or wrong, and you chose to ignore it as a whole. You even went so far as to attempt to beat me to death during the sports festival. What's your excuse there? That was my bad, I'll admit to that. But I'm trying to at least make things right. Make them right, says the woman whose uncle sicked the fucking warlords on me. I didn't even know that happened until Shanks came and what happened was explained to the student body. I had nothing to do with that one. You've done plenty where I have absolutely no reason to trust you. You've been a horrible, disgraceful and rotten woman for years because of your actions and no amount of apologizing you could ever do will fix that. A blast came from where Sengoku was for Izuku to use haki and punch it to stop it, forcing his hand to get singed from the hit. The attack subsided for Izuku to get to the point he was making. If things weren't what they were and my family didn't do what they did for me to be given the fair shake everyone else was, you'd be the villain that everyone hated. Not me. Understanding what he said was true, Yaoyorozu didn't fight back, nor want to say anything to state as a sign of objection. But things would be worse for both of us if we were to fail. So I'm going to make an exception for today and today only. I'll work with you under the concept that it's for both of our benefits. I'm not doing this because I have any interest in your attempts to redeem yourself. Yaoyorozu understood to nod. If that's the case, I think I have a plan in order to take down Sengoku. Yaoyorozu explained the plan to Izuku with it making him smirk in satisfaction. I like the sound of this. Alright, let's get the show on the road. As the two finished up their little discussion, Sengoku became tired of waiting to come after them. I think it's time we finished this once and for all, you two. If you refuse to come and attack me, then I'll just have to come and fight you myself. Both smirked at this before getting into a sprinting stance. Let's go. Both shouted to begin sprinting. The second they were a foot away from Sengoku, both split off to go two different ways. Yaoyorozu created two staffs to attempt to attack with armament haki, while Izuku attacked with his Gatling attack. You honestly think your level of haki is strong enough? Impact wave. The fleet admiral began attacking Yaoyorozu for her to face the blunt face first and be sent back. As she recovered, Sengoku sent another attack for her to dodge quickly and keep attacking. That trick isn't cute the second time. It's pathetic. Sengoku gave a punch on the ground to crack the ground a bit to send Yaoyorozu off balance and fall to the ground. Before he could go after her, Izuku used his Machi powers to attack with Yakimachi into the fleet admiral's face. This better work. Sengoku is extremely powerful at this point in time, but he's also a giant target with more weight to him. If we can take him down, we stand a chance of ending this with a win. The Machi attacks from Izuku exploded to send him back a little. As this occurred, Yaoyorozu went for the weakest part in the body that they could target easily without being noticed so easily. The Achilles heel. Take this. She shot several cannons of sea prism stone at Sengoku's heels for it to throw his body off balance. Midoriya. Did you plant them all? You think I'd help you if they weren't? Okay, but he'll just get back up even if he did fall. It would take time, but it's not impossible for him to get back up really. That's why I'm going to have you go under the streets while I cover you to plant small bombs strong enough to destroy the support under the street. Since we're in an area that's already destroyed, any more destruction here won't exactly change anything. So you were able to knock me down, that means little you punks. Maybe if that was all we were planning, but we have more in store for you. Yaoyorozu held out a detonator to press with the ground under Sengoku, caving in and dropping him down under the street, unable to move because of his size. Alright, let's get going. Midoriya. Yaoyorozu was cut off by her hero costume being grabbed by Izuku, who was preparing to throw her. So long as Sengoku is in his Buddha form, he'll be stuck in the ground. But that doesn't mean he can't revert back to his normal form after realizing what we're doing. We'll have to book it the second that happens towards the exit. Just handle the last part to me and focus on caging the Buddha up. What the hell are you doing? Making sure we pass. Now if I don't throw you through the gate, run like hell. Izuku threw Yaoyorozu with all his might for her to go flying through the gate before being blasted by one of Sengoku's attacks trying to stop them. Yaoyorozu would have hit a tree if she didn't make a parachute to minimize the problems. This unfortunately pushed her past her limit to fall to her knees in pain from overusing her quirk. Izuku, Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu have passed their exams. The automated voice of the gate spoke up for Sengoku to transform back and make sure Izuku was alright before retrieving him. Well, I guess the two of you were rather clever. Neither one of you could even work together and handle this without that little trick of yours. Not only that, but you both were able to think on the spot with where to get me next. Nicely done to you both for finding ways to think outside of the box. The former Marine smiled before bringing both to Recovery Girl, as they both most likely weren't in good shape. Few hours later, Izuku Pav. I started to wake up in a hospital bed of Recovery Girl's office to hear her scolding Sengoku. Do you understand? I am not a miracle worker. I know your objective was to help the kids, but doing so pushed them to limits not even I dare to consider part of a curricular. I'm sorry. I can't help the fact that I was told to push them, and they both weren't going to work together if I didn't give them an ultimatum. I rolled my eyes hearing this before hearing the door open to Ichako, Shinso, Todoroki and Iida. Sorry to barge in like this, but is Izuku okay? I'm fine. I spoke up while moving myself to sit up and feel extreme fatigue. Besides from the dizziness and fatigue, I'll live. Ichako immediately hugged me with it somewhat warming my soul. I patted her head before she looked up at me like she was ready to cry. I heard you were hurt kinda bad during the final exams. Are you okay? I'm fine. Relax. It takes more to kill me than you think. And consider this my way of saying don't do something so reckless again. Both of you had fractured skulls, cracked ribs and broken limbs. That was beyond idiotic. Next time you want to do something that could kill you, don't come crawling to me to heal your injuries. She seemed to be fuming before hopping off her chair and heading into the other room. After making sure everyone knew I was okay, I decided to talk about how their exams went with Ichako, saying she was able to turn 13 into a baby to stop her, while Todoroki used his op fruit, in conjunction with his quirk, to give Shinso an opening to attack with his magnet fruit and subdue Hound Dog. Iida, thanks to his quick thinking, was able to send Ejiro into the goal like I did with Yaoi Rozu to beat Powerloader, while also having him get submerged up to his neck underground. Once everyone was done, I glanced over before asking everyone to leave. When they did, I spoke up for Yaoi Rozu to hear. So we both got kinda banged up today. Yeah. There was a silence in the room for neither one of us to want to make a comment. After a few minutes, Yaoi Rozu decided to be the first to open her mouth. Midoriya. I know it doesn't help, but I am genuinely sorry for what I did, and if possible, I'll work as hard as I need to, in order to help fix the wrongs I did or at least gain enough respect for you to no longer be the monster you see me as. I started to stand and head towards the door, remaining silent. Once I opened it, I spoke one final bit to Yaoi Rozu before leaving. No matter what you do, what you did in the past will still stand and not ever leave my judgment on if you're a good person or not. For now though, you have to prove to both yourself and me that you truly do want to be better. Momopav. Midoriya left the room with me being alone for my thoughts. In them, I started to remember the past with an old memory that I had reminding me that Midoriya wasn't always an enemy to me. Flashback 12 years ago. It was the start of the first day of elementary with everyone already having a friend in our class. I sat alone for most of the day. Nobody wanted to make new friends yet and get out of their comfort zone. Coming from a family that had high regards like mine, none of the kids knew me to even decide to approach me. However, one person did. Hi. Looking up from my drawing I was doing, I noticed a kid with green hair and green eyes smiling at me. What's your name? I'm Momo. Hi Momo, I'm Izuku. Wanna be friends? His offer on that day warmed my heart and genuinely made me happy. I agreed for both of us to hit it off rather well. I told him about my life and how I want to be a hero with a boy's eyes having stars in them. He really admired heroes just like me to understand what I wanted to do was a noble thing. I believed that we were going to be good friends after this. Back to present. I wish I knew then what I do now. Maybe I could have avoided a lot of pain on Midoriya that shouldn't have been inflicted. Meanwhile in a town to the north, third-person Pav. Ace and Ryukyu had begun following a source to find a certain man that they were tracking for a while now. The intel they had led them towards the town of Raishi, where it was quiet and relaxing for the most part. Inside though, the sound of an abnormal laugh could be heard. Zahahaha. Both knew this laugh and prepared themselves by sitting atop a roof waiting for the man in question. When he made an appearance, Ace made his presence known first. Well, it seems we finally caught you, Teach. Well, if it isn't Commander Ace. It's been a while, sir. How you been? The man was cut off by Ryukyu in her dragon form, smacking him into a wall with her tail. I'm going to enjoy this. You'll pay today for the crimes you've committed against the Whitebeard pirates, Teach. You'll pay for what you've done to Thatch. The dragon hero was fuming with rage as Teach came out of the wall feeling extreme pain. Sorry that I had to do that, but I needed the Loja fruit he had. You see, all my plans centered around finding that fruit Thatch found. It wasn't personal, but I needed that fruit to do what I needed to achieve my goal. And what might that be? To kill one of your own crewmates and break an unspoken law in the crew. Teach smiled while answering the question. To be king of the pirate Ace cut him off by sending a spear of fire to Teach and causing him to catch fire. King of the pirates. What a load of crap. The flame user jumped down while preparing to fight the man in front of him. The only one who's worthy of that title is Whitebeard. We'll both make sure he does by taking you out of this world. So get ready to pay for what you've done, Thatch. Izuku Pav. A few days passed since we had our exams with Mr. Izawa, giving us a bit of a shocker, saying that he had no intentions on having any of us be denied the training camp we were going on. Basically it was a rouse for us to work harder or something. I honestly didn't care as much. My main attention was on the fact neither me nor Heido has had any contact with Ace or Ryukyu in the past few days. I started to worry a bit with Pops not telling me anything. This kept on my mind since the day after the exams and it now worrying me. Alright. Everyone on the bus. Mr. Izawa came over with a woman that was slightly smaller than him with her face covered. I gave one glance at her before realizing who she was. So Aunt Smoothie is coming with us. This is a shock. I hopped on the bus and sat near the back so nobody would give me a hard time. Coming near me, Uraraka hopped in the seat and sat next to me. Hey Midoriya. You mind if I sit with you? You're already sitting there, so why not? Looking up, I locked eyes with Yaoi Rozu for a moment with her holding her head down in shame. Midoriya. Is the seat in front of you taken? Todoroki and Shinso made themselves known for me to stare at them. Seat's all yours. They sat down with Aizawa and Smoothie sitting in the front before we started heading off. As we sat down, I got a text from Tsunatori. Tsunatori. I got a bit of intel from Kaido's All-Stars. Apparently, a warlord's been sent off to find you. Stay sharp. Since the ordeal that happened, I shared contacts with the people in Class B that wanted to help me and Tsunatori out, as well as the contacts from some of my own class. Izuku. Any ideas on who it is? I know Crocodile was taken out, but apparently someone already filled his spot. Tsunatori. I don't know. Do you have anyone that might? Izuku. Sadly. Just give me a second and I'll text them to see what I can find out. Since Yaoi Rozu was our class rep, I had to learn her number. Didn't expect I'd have to use it, but there's a first for everything. Izuku. Hey. It's Midoriya. I wanted to know if you have any idea of a possible warlord dispatch. Tsunatori said she has some intel about it, but doesn't know who. Bitch. How does she know this? That's right. She doesn't know Tsunatori is Kaido's daughter. Izuku. Not important. Do you have an idea or not? Bitch. Give me a minute. If anyone would know outside of my uncle, it would be Sengoku. I waited a minute before a response back was made. Bitch. He says that there was a recent dispatch of Kuma on my uncle's orders. I don't know what they were and neither does he, but it can't be good if it's Kuma the tyrant. Izuku. I'll send something on the group chat that Mr. Aizawa is part of. Just make sure you say anything you find out. Got it. Bitch. Understood. I changed up where I was sending messages to inside the sweet sneak as it was called, chat room. Why did Ichako have to name this chat and give us weird names? Machimachi. Heads up. We might get a warlord coming to the training camp. Duff Taffy, Kendo. Wait, are you serious? Ginger House, Capone. I heard one was on the move from my informants too, but didn't know where. Unpi, Tsunatori. So who was it? Machimachi. Bartholomew Kuma. Crunch, Tokage. Tyrant Kuma. Dummy Worm, Todoroki. What's someone like him doing going there? Machimachi. I'm not sure, but this is from Sengoku's mouth. Let's just be careful going forward. Hazel Truffle, Ichako. Right. I glanced at Ichako for a minute with her smiling at me. No matter what happens, this can't end well. Might as well get ready for whatever comes next by getting some rest. I shut my eyes for a few seconds before losing myself to the feeling of the bus on the freeway. Few hours later. After taking a rest stop, myself and the rest of our class found ourselves in front of a giant overpass for the forest around us. Some took this as a moment to stretch their legs, while others enjoyed the scenery. It was fine, but a single car was noticed for me to go over and find out what it was. But before I could, Mr. Aizawa stopped me to give a finger up to say a minute. The doors suddenly opened to the car with two pro heroes popping out. Hey Eraser. It's been a while. As the two came out, they began a strange banter. Your feline fantasies are here. Say meow. Perfectly cute and cat-like girls. We're the wild pussycats. A silence happened with Mr. Aizawa explaining what they were doing here. From what we were told, Mandalay, Pixabob and the rest of their team were going to help train us this week for the pros to explain where the camp was. Expecting the worst, I started walking towards the ledge while they said that those that don't come in 3 hours won't get lunch for most to panic and start running back to the bus. Sadly, Pixabob got in their way and sent us all over the cliff with earth. I'll remember your face. I shouted at the blonde woman, clearly happy of her actions. I soon hit the ground and hit it running with everyone else recovering. Guess I'm more sturdy than most of you. I'll kick your fucking ass. Bakugo begrudgingly said this as the sound of something coming our way to see an earth monster start walking towards us. In concern of this, I pulled my fist back with my Machi abilities and prepared to attack. Machi. I sent my attack flying at the monster for it to crack and turn to dirt. Pistol. Third person POV. As the group discovered what Izuku theorized, the members of Class A began taking on the dirt monsters either alone or in a group using their quirks or devil fruits in Shinso's and Todoroki's case. As the pros saw this, Mandalay was the first to speak. He's quite strong. You don't know the half of it. Aizawa watched his class succeed while explaining the truth behind Izuku. As he did, both pros stood in shock as they realized the boy that was taking on the dirt monsters from Pixabob with relative ease was the infamous son of Katakuri Charlotte. Wait a minute, I know him. He was that kid that was attacked by the warlords before. Mandalay shouted in amazement. Yes. My nephew is quite amazing, isn't he? Smoothie walked over with a bit of happiness before having the pros stare at her blankly for a moment. What? Something on my face. Why is a Charlotte family member here? Relax. Smoothie isn't our enemy. She's here as backup. Backup? Both pros looked at them confused as Smoothie explained. After the incident with the warlords as well as the troubles that came with the league and our recent falling out, Mama wanted me to protect Izuku. Consider me an onlooker that won't do something unless provoked or someone provokes Izuku. So is Shota's future wife. Smoothie put her hands together and smiled. I promise not to harm anyone here. Mandalay and Pixabob stared at the Charlotte family member with distrust. I don't trust you. Same here. Then take my word in the fact she won't cause any harm to the students. She gave me her word and up till now, her word has been good in my opinion. That's my husband for you. Thank you Shota. Smoothie grabbed Aizawa and gave him a kiss on the cheek with both feline pros still distrustful. What spell did she put you under? Did she use some kind of freaky devil fruit power to control your brain? Can we please get back to the camp? I'm thinking Midoriya is almost there. The group looked over to see dust clouds and trees falling near the camp for Pixabob to glance at who it was with her support gear and see Izuku running with a Chaco sitting on his shoulder. Just what the heck is this kid? A tank? You could argue that. Aizawa and Smoothie began heading on the bus with a Charlotte family member, releasing a bit of moisture from her to keep her size manageable. Yeah, I think we should head over as well. Mandalay and Pixabob began heading out with most of the class still struggling to get as far as they could and not even be a quarter of the way there yet. Izuku Pav. After finishing up the run, I placed your rocket down before sitting to the side. That was so cool. The way you smashed those dirt monsters was like bam and whoosh wabam. Then you went and took that giant one and boom. Your rocket kept doing this for it to somewhat be funny for me before I noticed the buses come with Class B's and our bus opening up. Immediately, the blonde asshole of Class B started a fight with me. Well, it seems that the swine of Class A couldn't get here on time, with the only one being the villain, and the whore that's going to the douche was hit over the head by Pony, who seemed to have enough of his mouth as well. Sorry about him. We're trying to get him under control. At least you're trying to keep him in line. Most of the Class B students went in with Kendo staying behind to talk with me. So Kuma's most likely going to be here. Yeah. Watch what you say also, my aunt is here. I pointed towards Mr. Aizawa with Smoothie beside him. I'm not sure if I can trust speaking freely around Smoothie yet, but it's better to be safe than sorry. No argument there. We sat in the area for a little longer with Uraraka sitting on my lap. It was somewhat satisfying for me, I won't lie, to have someone relaxed enough to be willing to sit on your lap. So where's the rest of your class? Somewhere in the forest. A strange zone was seen near us for Todoroki to appear right beside us with Iida and Shinso right behind him. The three looked rather worn out with Todoroki falling to his knees wheezing. I guess the drawback of the op fruit is stamina. Good thing Todoroki has his quirk to back that up. Right now, he'd be a liability. I pulled my phone out to see what was happening in the world right now to find an article about a guy named Marshall D. Teach or Blackbeard, as he was preferred to be called, taking Crocodile's role as a warlord. Midoriya. Can you help us unpack the bus? Alright. I'm coming. I put my phone away before I could read the article about how he did it. It's probably him making a deal with a Kano or something. Nothing big. Few hours later. After a nice lunch, I decided to get a little training in. For this, I asked for a 2 vs 2 vs 2, with teams consisting of myself and Uraraka, Todoroki and Shinso and Tsunatori and Kendo. This was honestly more my way of seeing what everyone could do with their devil fruits and hockey use in Kendo's case. Alright. I'm gonna referee this so nobody gets hurt. Aizawa spoke up for us to get in a fighting stance. Begin. Right off the bat, Tsunatori began activating her devil fruit to transform into her animal form. When she did, she grew to monster size. I prepared for a fight with Kendo hopping on top of her and going into the air. When she started to come down, she came barreling towards me with her fists enlarged coated with hockey. This is our way of starting things off right. Boom. The area around us began to get coated in a light blue tint with the metal in the area moving towards Shinso. When he was done, his hands were covered in enough scrap to make enormous hands. Take this. Shinso attacked us to separate me and Uraraka. With Kendo coming barreling towards me to just graze me. Machi pistol. I attacked Kendo with Tsunatori getting in my way to push me back. Alright then, Kakumachi. I made my fists look a bit blockish while using hockey to attack her, while Uraraka was busy trying to avoid attacks from both Todoroki and Shinso. In one of her movements, she was able to wrap around Shinso and touch his head and have the magnet man turn into a child. Damn. Gotta love the devil fruit at times. I nearly evade being eaten by Tsunatori to give her a punch that was caught in her mouth. Big mistake. Yakimachi. An explosion was made in her mouth to send Tsunatori back and transform back into her normal form. That's it. Mr. Aizawa called it for Uraraka to turn Shinso back to normal and me giving Tsunatori a hand up. Not bad. All of you. This'll be used in your training this week, so don't slack off. Yes, sir. We all spoke for our teacher to dismiss us. While heading back, Smoothie came over to Uraraka and smiled. Any chance we can talk, Ms. Uraraka? I'd like to have a little girl talk with you. I got in front of her with Smoothie patting my shoulder. Do not worry. I'm not going to hurt her. I just want to talk is all. I didn't trust her much, but agreed to this and let Smoothie drag Uraraka away to talk. Ichako Pav. Once I was gone from Midoriya's eye view, Smoothie placed me near a tree to start asking me some questions. I'd like to ask you if the only reason you're going along with the arranged marriage is because of Mama. If it is, I can help pull you out of it if you'd like. Wait, so this is about the marriage thing? Of course. I take the matter of making sure my nephew is very happy, as well as making sure there won't be future troubles rather seriously. Now tell me, would you rather leave the arranged marriage if offered? I thought about what Midoriya's been in the past to me, with him always helping me. Pushing me in some ways even when I'd rather let things be. The thought of the marriage among us was kinda forced, but the image was. What am I thinking? I immediately went red with Smoothie clearing her throat. I don't mind keeping the marriage. Okay. So why don't you call him Izuku? I remained silent for a second before Smoothie walked back. I'm sure Izuku wouldn't mind if you called him by his first name. I waited a minute before releasing a sigh. I wonder if he wouldn't have a problem with it. I walked back to the camp to think about this and find out for myself if I should or shouldn't. Izuku Pav. The next morning came with all of us waking up extra early. From what Mr. Aizawa said, today was going to be training ourselves to increase our base strength with our quirks. With all that we've faced, we have gained experience that outshines most in our position, as well as unique skills in using our quirks. But for the base power we had, it was almost exactly the same, except for a small handful of us that has some sort of enhancement, such as mine and Yaoi Rozu's Haki and Todoroki's, Shinso's and Uraraka's Devil Fruits. Even with those, our base skills only went up a little compared to everyone else's. So this week, we're going to train to the bone, as he said. Midoriya. Come with me. Your training will be a unique one. I followed my teacher into the woods where Smoothie was waiting in her normal body size. For your training, you're going to fight against your aunt. Since she knows your father's fighting style and yours, whether you like to admit it or not, is the same, she'd be able to help you find the flaws in how you use your Machi powers and point you in the right direction. Believe me when I say this will not be easy, and I shall not hold anything back. Unlike before, Smoothie held a somewhat serious look on her while cracking her neck with 2 quick motions from side to side. Alright then. Let's go. I immediately charged at Smoothie with my Machi powers, making my hand into blocks before being kicked in the stomach and sent flying into the forest. I'll come back to get you both in a few hours. Do try to survive until then. Mr. Aizawa stated this while I recovered from the attack to my stomach with a tree falling on my head. You better get serious with fighting me. Smoothie attacked me with her spear to narrowly put a hole through my chest before grabbing me and sending me flying again. If you don't, then you'll be nothing more than a pincushion for me to use sewing Shota's sleeping back tears together. Groan did I have to hear the last bit. Several hours later. Alright. Time to call it. Mr. Aizawa came to see me beaten black and blue in a hole with residual steam coming off of me from Smoothie's attacks. You might want to head over to your classmates, Midoriya. The pussycats aren't making food for the rest of you going forward. Yes, sir. I got up and began to limp towards the camp with Class A and B beginning work on food. I limped near Uraraka, who looked half dead, before grabbing a potato and peeling it like her. So what's on the menu tonight? Curry. She spoke with a bit of nausea in her face before rectifying that it wasn't me. Sorry. I've been tossed around on hills thanks to Pixabob. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. You want to sit back and let me handle this then? She glanced at me for a moment before regaining her composure. I'll be fine. Besides, you look like you need to rest more than me. Those scrapes look kinda nasty. I'll live. Just don't overdo it. Same can be said to you. We continued peeling with a kid to the side noticing me. He seemed young, but also really angry from what I can tell. So who's the kid? Mandalay's nephew. From what I can tell, he seems kinda distant from us. Almost as if he wants nothing to do with us. I glanced at him using observation hockey from what I learned to see what his soul looks like. From the images, I could see that he was sad and mad for some reason, with Ida speaking up. Midoriya. I don't see your hands moving. Sorry. Just got caught off guard for a sec. I returned to what I was doing for my attention to remain on my task. I'll talk to Mandalay later about this. Later that night. I started walking out of the room where me and the guys in my class were staying to get some ice. As I did, I noticed the kid that was from before. He seemed to be glaring at me really hard for it to tick me off. Hey kid. If you want to glare daggers at me, you might want to tell me why you're so hellbent on it. Like I have to talk to a corny fake hero about that. As far as I'm aware, you and your friends are all the same. Bunch of wannabes that wanna be heroes. Hahaha. Man, you hit the nail on the head with a good amount of my class. Damn kid, you're good. My sudden laughter surprised him as I continued to explain why I found it so goddamn funny. Kid. That little spiel you gave doesn't work on me. Do you even realize how many people tell me to kill myself on a daily basis? How many people slander my mother's apartment door with profanity growing up? I'm immune to that stuff. So what? It's still true. You're no different than the corny fakes. Now somewhat irritated, I knelt down to the kid's level and glared him in the eyes. Am I now? I pulled my covering off my face to show him my scar and watch his face go pale. I'm going to tell you this kid. I'm nothing like those corny heroes you see too often. Unlike them, I've seen things most don't want to see. I've had people throw things at me and slice my jaw open from jawline to jawline, people slander a child for something he had no say in. Pros think I'm a villain because of my father being one, the number one pro trying to kill me thinking I'm my father, people wanting me dead to the point they're fine with public murder, and a psychotic fleet admiral that doesn't understand what the hell it means to be a good person. So when you tell me that I'm a fucking corny fake, I've seen the worst in people to tell you right now that what you say is completely incorrect. The kid began backing away a bit from shock for me to stand up and cover my face again. Come on. Why don't I treat you to something cause of my little rant? We left the area to begin going into the forest to find a place to relax. There, I made us a couple mochi donuts before beginning to eat. So what's your name, kid? Koda. Koda Izumi. Name's Izuku Midoriya. I'm the son of Katakuri Charlotte. This surprised the kid immensely for him to spit out what he was eating. Yeah, messed up without a doubt. How can you say that so calmly? Pause. It makes no reason to me to try and avoid it. If you're gonna judge me, I'd rather you do that right off the bat instead of try to be happy but act like a jerk when you realize the truth about me. Wow. I've never met someone like you. Well, you meet a unique person now and then whenever you go somewhere with crowds of new people. It's one of the joys of the world. I gave a deep sigh before I heard something from the side. Koda. I need you to stay close to me. Why? Just stay close. We've got company out of the bushes. There seemed to be some kind of zombie coming at us at max speed for me to use my machi abilities to attack. Machi. Pistol. I knocked whatever it was a distance before seeing several others come around us. Great. We're surrounded. Seems making that deal with the League of Villains was a good idea after all. Gishishishishi. Echo Moria. I heard the Kuma was shipped out, but I didn't expect you to be here. I came to finish the job I started back then. And I didn't come alone. You see, I have just as many friends in high places as you do. Gishishishishi. Out of nowhere, a man with blonde hair and a scar over his eye came to attack both me and Koda for me to grab the younger boy and pull him away from the area. Well, isn't this fun? I get to kill someone like you. Lucky me. Koda saw the man and began to shake in fear. It was only upon a closer look that I realized who he was. The mass-murdering psychopath Muscular, I presume. Hey. I'm famous. That makes things easier on me then. His arms showed his muscle fibers coming out while charging at me. Show me your blood. Machi saw. I attacked the villain with my machi powers with some zombies coming at me to attack. You want some too? Fine. Machi whip. I attacked the zombies while also heading back to camp. Damn it. I can't fight them with Koda here. Koda. You okay back there? That man. He killed them. Who are you talking about? Muscular. He killed my mom and dad. The pieces started to fall into place now. Koda's hatred for heroes was brought on by his parents' death. It was only natural that he'd hate them since his parents left him for their hero work. Koda. I promise you I'm gonna do what I can to take that madman down. You have my word on that. This seemed to help the boy while a man with staples and burn marks on his face attacked us to keep us away from camp. Sorry kid, but you're on our target list today. One by one, several other villains came out to surround us for it to irritate me. So you don't have the guts to face me alone, do you, Moria? Kinda low blow to have to rely on wannabe thugs to do your dirty work. Who are you calling a wannabe thug, freak show? Ha. This coming from a guy that doesn't look like he's heard of moisturizer in his life. I started laughing at a guy who had a lizard quirk for a girl with messy buns in her hair to attack from behind. I got out of the way in time with the Stitches freak to attack again with blue fire. I held onto a rock nearby to get back to the ground before being pulled towards some overly masculine girler guy that looked like a crossdresser with a giant magnet. Bad move. Yakimachi. I sent a hand of mine made of mochi at the weirdo to hit them square in the face and force whatever they were trying to do on me to stop. That worked out better than I just missed being stabbed by some freak into bondage's teeth with a muscle guy and a couple of zombies coming at me again. Ah, you damned brat. Muscular came storming at me with my options being limited. I'm still not at 100% after the training today with my aunt. Damn it. Coda. Hang on. This is gonna get rocky. I coated my legs with hockey before jumping and stomping downwards while in the air. Machi machi. My feet turned blockish to try an idea I've had for a while. Kaku stamped Gatling. The zombies fell down towards the ground with some of the villains around having the bodies drop on them. As I did this, I saw a glimpse in the future of someone attacking me with a gun to dodge it and grab a middle schooler by the neck and throw him at the Stitches guy to try and knock both out. Getting back on the ground, I began feeling the overuse of my hockey. Do you think that'll take us down? The lizard guy got up with some of the other villains and zombies doing the same. I must admit, you're far better than I give you credit for, Izuku Midoriya. But even if you try to beat us, you'll never win against me with brute strength alone. Gishishishishishi. Having enough of trying to win by power, I glanced back at Koda. I'm sorry, but you may end up getting knocked out by this. I promise I'll protect you, but you have to trust me. Can you do that? He nodded in understanding before I took a deep breath. While releasing, I activated my Conqueror's Haki, with the pressure alone being felt by the zombies and the villains to knock them out. The only ones remaining afterwards was Moria, Stitches, and Muscular. So. Are you gonna give up now, or do I have to? I was punched in the face by Moria's shadow to be sent towards a mountain. Crap. Koda. I adjusted where Koda was for me to shield him with my body as I connected with the wall. The impact made a crater with injuries being a minimum for me, thanks to Haki. I guess it's time to wrap this up then. The Stitches guy encased us in a ring of fire for the three to prepare to kill me and Koda. I placed his unconscious body down on the ground behind me and supported by the mountain before turning around. If it's a fight you all want, then it's a fight you all will get. Meanwhile, third-person POV. As the attack on Izuku was happening, the members of the camp were having their own troubles. Tokage. Duck. Kendo had asked her classmate to duck down to evade an attack to Inomu from hitting her. Just where the heck did all these come from? Broom. Todoroki encased a large portion of the building in his room to begin attacking the Nomu. Heat scalpel. One of the Nomu had its brain melt from the heat of his attack, with another beside him having its head crushed by Yaoi Rozu's attack. Yaoi Rozu. Do you think this has anything to do with Kuma? I'm not sure. If this was Kuma though, he would most likely be going after. A shock came to everyone in the group for them to shout in unison. Midoriya. Hearing what their conclusion was, Smoothie finished draining the juice out of one of the Nomu to begin charging at the door. I'll go find him. You all stay here and finish up these things. Heading out the door, Smoothie began running as fast as she could through the forest before coming upon a face she wished she hadn't. You're the sweet enforcer Smoothie Charlotte, correct? I think you're here of all places. Smoothie pulled her trident out and pointed it at the warlord prepared to attack. Now where's Izuku and why did you sick these monsters run by the League on us? The giant man didn't respond, but simply pulled his gloves off to show his palms to Smoothie. I have done nothing of the sort. What you are seeing now has no connection to me whatsoever that I can tell you. Like I'll believe that. Smoothie came at Kuma for him to tap her shoulder and make the Charlotte disappear. Now that one of the difficulties with completing my assignment is gone, I can go on with my next. The destruction of the next generation Yanko Alliance, as well as the death of Izuku Midoriya. That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.